it's always good that we can get that stuff out of the way. Get all the things that we want to say, but people shouldn't hear. We get that out first,
No one
and then
needs
we
to
hit
hear any of
record.
that.
Yeah, and then we hit record, and that way we can start episode 98. Hey, we're almost to episode 100. We should do a live show. No, we shouldn't. So we are.
Should definitely do a live show while you're
Please
fighting
never
with
do
your wife.
that. Yeah, I just
should
don't
not
trust
do a
my
live show.
credibility with
Are you
everybody
freaking
on the podcast.
serious right now, Tim?
Welcome to episode 100.
This is ridiculous.
Thanks for all joining in my room. Come on in. But yeah, episode 98. We are in part 3 of 4 of our Game of the Year debates. It's a fun time of year where we get to disagree about games that everyone forgot about because it was a year ago, and that's fine. That's fun. We have a couple of categories again that are just personal picks because it's not worth ranking some of these. That's too arbitrary and too subjective. But in a few other ones, we can come up with some rules around them and then create a shared ranked list. So this week we're going to be sharing a list around visuals, and we split that into 2 categories, and we'll get to that in a few minutes with kind of a realistic version and then a kind of an animated or artistic, whatever you want to call it, version. And then a favorite PC games and best Xbox exclusive. But before we get to that, we'll jump right into our favorite old games that we played. For me, it was old games we played for the first time. So the idea here was if there's a game that you replay every year or two, maybe kick that one off the list because you've played it so much. What about a game that maybe you finally got to from the backlog? Because I've got a few of those from this year. But hey, if you don't have any of those, that's fine. Make your own list. Any old game will do. So anybody want to go first? Anybody
Sure, I'll
have?
go first.
All right. Yeah.
I played. I think Mass Effect's gonna get talked about, so I'm skipping that. You're talking about first time playing. Yeah. I finally caught up on Nier Replicant because it was remade. Obviously, big fan of Nier Automata, so I really wanted to check this one out. Really dig the fantasy vibes of this one, and just love kind of the bridging of this game and the Automata game. I think like there are nuggets in there that they may have even added on this version to make sure they can kind of connected. Better. So I just really enjoyed this game quite a bit. I've been singing its praises about its music kind of for the last couple of weeks. I think the combat, it's not as good as Automata, obviously, because it's an old game, just kind of with a HD polish on top of it. But I still think it's pretty fun, if you're just kind of trying to combo yourself through some like waves of enemies. And I think the enemy design is really cool. I think there's just Yoko Taro vibes for days in this game. And really, really happy I got around to it because it was always a game I looked at like on a store shelf and was just like, yeah, maybe I'll play that someday. Like a talking book that like wants you to kill things. Like, yeah, I'm totally in for this. And just never got around to it for whatever reason. And after playing Nier Automata, I was like, I got to play like all this guy's work. And I was like, oh, I have been because I love Drekengard and I love all these other games that he's made. So it's kind of nice to kind of fill in the back of his catalog of games finally. So really enjoyed this one.
Nice. Any other ones on yours?
Oh, not really. I think that was like the one that I played that was new. I mean, everything else I had played before. I'll just kind of name off a couple. Like I replayed Shin Megami Tensei 3, which I thought was awesome. Death Stranding Director's Cut. I got to play that again. I think I talked about that on the podcast before. Going back to that one on PS5, it just looks really great. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was a nice replay. There's a lot of games that kind of re-released this year. I think we were all kind of replaying old games this year in some form or fashion. We played Sleeping Dogs for the first time in a few years. That was a treat to go back to. So
Game's
a
awesome.
lot of really good time with some nostalgia this year.
You guys think they'll ever make a Sleeping Dogs 2?
I don't think so. I don't know if that
It's so long, right?
Does that team even like exist anymore? Like I forget.
I don't actually. I think they don't. To be
So
honest.
I know the property was really good. I know they were moving forward with a Donnie Yen movie or something, and like that never happened. So like it's just like that property still exists out there, and people are still trying to do stuff with it, but like it just seems like nothing ever launches for whatever reason. So
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm not even kidding you about that either. I think it's so great. I think that open world is awesome. I think the combat's awesome.
Nice.
So
You're right,
Square Enix actually published it. I wasn't even.
They
aware.
published it, but I
You're
don't
right.
know
The
what team it
developer
was.
no longer exists.
United
Aw,
Front
bummer.
Games. Yeah, United
Yeah,
Front
no,
Games.
United Front is super gone. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
maybe one day. I don't know. There's a lot of teams over there. Eidos could do it. Give it to the Cyberpunk guys. They're really good at open world games.
I wonder who has
Or
the
not
rights to
Cyberpunk.
it.
I'm sorry, Deus Ex. excuse me.
Microsoft, I think.
Deus Ex
Okay.
guys.
No, maybe not. Just kidding.
Microsoft owns everything.
Square would.
All right, thanks, Kyle. By the way, I didn't introduce everyone, but we'll do that as we do our first list here. So that was Kyle. Good to have you this week. You know who else
Thank
is nice to have him rejoin us is Derek. You missed us last week. I know that our final list for Sony probably pleased you if you happened to make it through the 5-hour show.
I know firsthand he
Um,
loved it actually. So.
I did actually make it through the whole show.
I'm sorry.
I forget though what game did y'all?
We
play
ended up
Kenya?
landing on Returnal for number 1.
Oh,
His favorite.
yeah. I wasn't mad though because I still like Returnal.
Yeah, we had Returnal and Kana kind of really neck and neck with Deathloop in 3rd place, Ratchet, and then
Okay.
Solar Ash. So,
I did my best.
But Derek, good to have you
Um,
back. What are some of your favorite old games that you played this year?
I mean, it's not a super old game, but I actually played it from beginning to end and finished it. And it was actually really good. It's Call of Duty, I think it's Cold War. So it was last year's Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really good.
I had like an itching to play a first person shooter before Vanguard came out, which I haven't beat that yet. But so I gave that one a shot. Plus, I think it was when I was first starting to try to get back into gaming, so I wanted something short so I could just complete something. And I don't know, it was really good, especially like the ending. There's some frustrating things about it, but overall, I was gonna say I was shocked by how good the story was and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, Call of Duty games, most of them have like good stories with a good twist. I think the thing that gets old is that they won't change things too much, but they do try to change something every time, and they did that with this one. So it was definitely a good experience. I did go back and play and beat Mass Effect. I got all the way to the end of Mass Effect 2. So I'll eventually finish that again, and then I'll play Mass Effect 3. But it was nice returning to the Mass Effect franchise last year, and it was nice to not just return to it because I beat the game several times, but it was nice to play it with it looking a little bit more modern, and playing a little bit more modern. I will say one good thing about that franchise, or a really good thing about that franchise, is it's not very dated. Like you could go back and play the originals, and you would be fine. Whereas
Yeah.
I've gone back and played games that are like 3 years old, and I'm like, we don't do this anymore. This is
Yeah.
terrible design.
The updated version of the first Mass Effect actually makes it
Oh yeah.
at least relatively enjoyable compared
And
to
I've
the
Hard
always
to recommend
been-
that game until this.
I've
version came
always
out.
been a
Yeah.
defender of the original Mass Effect. 'Cause
Same.
I'm like, it was an RPG. It was an RPG. And if
Yeah.
you did play the Knights of the Old Republic games, and you were a huge BioWare fan before Mass Effect, then you do know that they weren't just making a terrible shooter. I'm not saying they had the ability to make a great shooter, but their goal was to make it an RPG first, and they purposely made the shooting like.
There were dice rolls like in the original.
Yes, that's all
Like
it
there were
was.
actual dice rolls, like maybe you
So-
would shoot
I would've
someone
hated
directly
it.
at their body and like
I
you
would've
just
hated
didn't
it.
hit them.
Yeah.
So.
I really enjoyed what they did with it because I
And
have
well, the
tried.
thing
This is my
is-
3rd time trying to play that one, and the first 2, I kind of gave up. I was like, I just don't really like the combat. It's not my thing. I don't really enjoy it, and I
Well,
actually
because
like
it's
Knights of the Old
dated
Republic.
now. Like
I
I
did
did
like
even
Knights
go
of the Old
back to
Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Heck, it was dated when it came out, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
But when I go back to Knights of the Old Republic, which is one of both of them. I like the first and the second one. They're two of my favorite games. But for me, because I've changed and games have changed, but I've also changed in what I like. It's hard to play those games. So I'm actually looking forward to the remake of Knights of the Old Republic. I know there'll be a lot of haters because there's no way they're going to release the gameplay anywhere close to how the original was, and people are going to be like, this is not the same thing, but I think they should change it. I think they should Final Fantasy VII it and just completely overhaul it and do
I'm scared
whatever the hell they
because
want.
I'm scared.
that studio just does remakes, so like to ask so much of them, I don't know. It's and no one's gonna be happy. So just
that game with
no
7
one will
remake
be
combat was
happy.
I'm gonna love it.
People
I don't
like
care.
Kyle
It could be
and
a
I.
turn-based strategy game, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
I'm not gonna have a problem with it. They could literally just put a new paint on it, like coat of paint on it, and I would be like, oh, okay, the combat's dated, but I love it, and it doesn't bother me. But anyways, I returned to Mass Effect like many of us, and that's pretty much it. I'm probably played other ones, but
but that's what jumps out to you.
Yeah, I don't have any
That's fair.
memory.
Dan, what about you? Any other games, previous to 2021, basically, that you played this year, especially if you was the first time playing it?
Well, this was the first Xbox I ever owned. Was
That's
last
right.
year. So I
Actually,
went.
have a lot.
I don't know what you just said, but it was probably stupid, and I hated it. So, first time ever playing a Forza game, Forza Horizon 4. So that was a good way to kind of dip my toes in the water before 5 came out. And I really was enjoying it. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm excited for 5 then. So that should be cool. First time really playing through the Gears series. I had played like a little bit, like a couple missions here and there with like friends co-op when I
Sure.
go over their house, but I never really experienced the series. So just really that whole series as a whole, that was new for me, and it was fun to play through. A lot of nostalgia with the first 3, but then I legitimately really like the 4th and 5th one. I think they're really solid games. So, but then I'd say the main one, and I don't know if this counts because, well, technically it came out on PC and Switch in 2020, Hades.
Yeah.
And then PS4 and Xbox One the year after. So last year essentially was the first time me trying Hades, and that game is super fun. It is very fun. Great combat.
Have you tried the Halo games yet?
Yeah, I don't know what chapter I'm on Halo 2, but I'm in that. I'm slowly kind of working through that. So
yeah,
that's another franchise I went back and played basically the entire series. And
there you go.
Yeah, I wanted to do that because that's the kind of person I am. I just want to appreciate sort of the history of it before I play the newer one. So
yeah,
but so some good stuff.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And Jeff, what about you?
Oh,
Well, definitely
me,
an
the
anime
resident anime expert.
The anime expert. If you're just listening, Jeff's background consists of 2 words, anime expert. And if you've listened to more than 3 seconds of any of our episodes, you know that is a very inaccurate statement. Hence the humor.
Well, now I'm offended. I'm going to start off this episode very offended and continue. Yes, I played the Mass Effect trilogy for the first time. I never played any of those games, but well, I can't say never, but I played Mass Effect 2 for like a couple hours when it first came out, and that's it. This is my first time playing through that trilogy, and I loved it immensely. It's just one of my favorite, like immediately jumped to one of my favorite video game franchises, period. I feel like a lot of people are going to talk about that anyway. So I wanted to mention Mass Effect Andromeda because that game freaking rules.
Yeah.
Super
I replayed that
underrated.
this year as well. Yeah.
And that was
I
my
think we're
first time.
all a bunch of lovers of that here, right?
We
Tim,
are,
you and
yeah.
Derek really like
I haven't
it.
actually tried it yet, but I
Yeah,
do want
Dan,
to.
I didn't know if you had or not,
Yeah,
but I remember that.
Was that
That was my
20
game of the year.
Get to this.
Was that
2017?
2017?
Yeah, it's good year for games, by the way. But
So maybe
really,
it was
really, if you go into a game group and just throw out that, like, I like Mass Effect Andromeda, it's a really good way to start a fight, like in a gaming game.
it is.
So it's
Well, I
really
think
interesting that
almost
so
any
many
game
of
People
us
still
like
feel
it.
strongly about it being not good. I don't get that at all.
Still, like, there's still like
most of the
perks on
top games in 2017. If you just go out there and say I really like them, they freak out. I think that was the Breath of the Wild year.
Horizon.
Horizon.
What a year!
And I
There's
think-
so many haters of all
I
those
think
games.
Assassin's Creed Origins is probably the one most would agree on. Hey, that was good. I liked what they did there. But
Mario Odyssey?
ironically,
Mario Odyssey. Oh my gosh, dude, I love that game.
Yeah. That's a good year.
Andromeda was like because it is a very different Mass Effect. I mean, you can tell
Way
that
different
immediately,
vibes.
especially from me going from like 1, 2, and 3, which all have their differences and stuff. But Andromeda feels it feels more like a Star Trek game than the other 3 games do, where like
Agreed.
it's focused on
purposefully. Yeah.
exploring and finding out more about races that you really have never seen before. And
Well, and they actually created a fun environment to explore, not just picking a
I thought
planet
the
to fly
worlds
to,
were really
but like
cool.
your movement as a character, I thought was
Oh yeah,
amazing.
The
in that.
dashing feels really good. The exploration feels really good.
Gameplay
Hovering
is
feels good.
king in that one over.
It's so
the
good,
original
yeah.
stuff.
yeah, and it felt I played like 10 hours or something into it. I didn't beat it or anything because it's kind of long, but I assume it is. I got to like one of those planets where you're supposed to like basically what do you call it?
Terraform it.
Terraform it, basically,
Yeah.
and turn it into something that's habitable for all races, I guess. And so I got through with that, and then that's where I stopped. And that's pretty far into it, especially for me, because
that
I like
first
those
planet.
games to explore as much as possible before I go on to the next mission.
Yeah.
So it's just awesome, dude. Like, I mean, the way that they do the dialogue is so different. It's not so black and white in Paragon and Renegade.
It's feelings based, right? Like
yeah. There's like 4 or 5 options you can choose from each conversation. I think that's really cool. God, I just can't wait to go back to it. I reinstalled that because I do want to beat that, and I feel like now is a good time to revisit it. And I reinstalled Horizon, but I played that like in 2020 for the first time. Or whatever.
Dude, you talking about this game reminds me, we need to do a whole segment or a whole topic on a show sometime about the most unfairly criticized games, and I feel like that would be.
Oh yeah, I have a great list for that. I'm sure I do somewhere. Yeah,
so that just made me think of that. Like I feel like that one is in that because it's.
So make sure it's not too corporate.
Too in many circles.
Don't make sure it's not too corporate, not too cash.
Yeah, that game's just too corporate.
Well, no, I'm gonna wait till we have a corporate sponsor to do that.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be brought to you by EA, Activision, and Ubisoft, but it'll be good.
Yes, awesome. Yeah.
The other game that I played for the first time, and I didn't sink nearly as many hours into it as I did Andromeda, which wasn't even that much to begin with, but I spent like 4 or 5 hours in Dishonored, and I'd never played that before, and it really, really impressed me. I did unlock like at least 3 or 4 abilities in that chunk of time, and I thought it was super slick and really cool. So I just got to revisit, find time to visit that. But
if you like that, you like Deathloop.
Yeah. No, not necessarily.
Just saying, right? Right, Derek? Am I right there?
No, because I don't like Dishonored and I like Deathloop, so.
Oh, okay.
No.
You don't like Dishonored. All right.
I don't. Yeah. No, and you know why? Because I'm too stupid for those games. It has nothing to do with
No,
like,
you're
the quality
not.
of game is.
I will say
You're a
this.
corporate shell.
I will say this.
Those games are
It's a gamer by
so
Disney.
like thinky, complicated, and like I'm just a dumb old boy. Like I can't. Like,
You
You
are
know
not.
what I would say to that? I would say I bet you if you went back to it, you would be able to finish it and be
Maybe.
like, oh, this is not that smart.
Yeah.
Because you get smarter as you keep playing.
I'm gonna say I was just having that conversation with my roommate earlier. It's like I'm 8 years a gamer since Dishonored came out. Maybe I have 8 years of experience of figuring out, or approaching games differently.
I will say this: the Dishonored games, to me, were a smarter game than.
I put him in the Half-Life sect of they're smart FPS, like they're cerebral FPSs. I think is like kind of like their subgenre. Or
yeah,
like they really, unless you put the game,
like Prey would fall into that. Like Prey is not something you just go down corridors and shoot. Like the game kind of wants you to stop and think about the mechanics.
They always add like a slight twist to their games that no other developer does, but it's hard to pin down what it is sometimes. Where you're like, this is not like any shooter or first person whatever that you've ever played, but it's not that different from it either. It's still going to feel familiar when you play it, but there's certain aspects of it that you're like, what? I've never done
I like them. The reason I'm like a fanboy of them now is because I like that they're not reality at all, but they're grounded in reality. And what I mean by that is they're like, hey, play our game however you want. But if you're playing on normal difficulty, of course, if you put it on easy, you can do this. But if you play it on normal and above, if you just go in shooting, you're dead. Like they're grounded in reality as far as if there's 20 guys there, you're not taking them out. So that's why they're smart games, is because they have so much openness to every level, every area, every board or place that you're at, where they're like, hey, you could kill that guy or assassinate him 20 different ways. And some of them are hands off, like kind of like how Deus Ex would do some stuff.
Deus Ex was very, I would add that to the list of cerebral shooters.
Yeah, dude. Dishonored, Deus Ex, and Hitman kind of have their own unique category up on the side.
Where you can play it however you want, and then there's just so many options of how you kill. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I always wanted to get into Hitman games. Yeah. But we won't get into that because that's side.
They'll be on. They'll be on Game Pass here pretty soon.
Yeah, that's cool.
Listen, there are a number of games that just barely missed my 2020 gaming experience, so they're not really old. They came out late.
Yeah, I took those out because I did the same thing.
But just at least wanted to give them like a shout out because I really enjoyed them. I did play them and finish them this year, and that was Spider-Man Miles Morales, Immortals Phoenix Rising. Both of those are absolutely excellent games in their own right. They totally deserve attention, and people should play them. I also played a good chunk, probably 20 plus hours of a replay of Red Dead Redemption 2, although I had already played that before. But playing on PC, not only did it look great, but just reminded me that I kept going back and forth in my head, like, was that my favorite game of that year, or was
It's
it God
better
of
have been
War?
Tim.
Dude, God of-
Crazy
God of
that came out
I-
the same year God of War, but
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
But as far as games I played for the first time, this is in no particular order. We talked about Mass Effect a lot, but the Legendary Collection is amazing. The first game went from being like, yeah, it's a fun one to go back for nostalgia, and now it's actually a very playable, very enjoyable, and great story of a video game. And then 2 just takes all of that and just creates this even more epic story with tons more characters and a lot more at stake. And then 3 kind of feels like a continuation of 2 with just a bunch of improvements all across the board. And I know it's going to have an ending that I'll probably hate, and I'll finally understand why everyone hates it. But I love what I've played of 3 so far. 1 and 2 were great. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury, that's a game I hadn't played at all because it was on the Wii U, and I played a lot of that one. Both the new content with Bowser's Fury and the original 3D World, absolutely excellent, super fun. The classic, like, hey, this is fun with friends, and then, oh man, I'm furious at everyone in the room right now. It's classic, and it's super fun.
3D World is one of my favorites.
Love that game. It's a blast. And then Castlevania Advance Collection. So that was old games I'd played for the first time. I think I had only played one of those, maybe briefly, on the Game Boy Advance, and those were fun to revisit. I mean,
what did you spend most time with out of the 3?
It was the one with the L.
Lament of something? No.
Not Aria of Sorrow. That's the one?
No, Aria of Sorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone likes that one. Yeah.
I mean,
it's on sale right now. I'm about to buy that game, and that's the one I'm gonna start.
I think it plays the best out of all of them. Yeah. All of them are kind of fun to.
Aria of Sorrow is a Symphony of the Night level of like amazing for that.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
Really,
Dawn of Sorrow, which is I think the like kind of.
That was a DS
spiritual sequel. Yeah, it was a spiritual sequel to Aria of Sorrow. And it's also the other favored Symphony of the Night level game.
Yeah, so a lot of fun stuff to revisit this year. Some of it thanks to collections and re-releases, and other games that I just finally came around to try. So anyway, pretty good year especially during there was a couple of dry months there, right, where there wasn't a ton coming out. So thankfully, what was it, in August, I think, when it picked up, and it didn't really relent until Christmas, basically.
Yeah.
So we're just now in a quiet period, and it's very brief.
Yeah.
But man, what a terrible year!
It's only a calm before a storm, though.
Yeah. What a horrible year. So, anyways, there you go. There's some of our favorite old games that we played. Call them, old with quotes. Games before 2021 that we aren't talking about for Game of the Year this year, but we finally got to play them. All right. Well, that gets us warmed up a little bit thinking about games. Let's talk about the best visuals that we saw this year.
Let me change my background then for that.
Everyone hold. We got to get a new background. Hang on.
Something a little more truthful, Jeff?
Is it visual expert?
No, it's this. Here we go.
There we go. Unpacking.
Here we go. Background.
I have something to say. I have something to say about that background.
Are you gonna hang up? Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Okay.
Is this the clapping that you liked, Tim? Like this, right?
That is.
Or is it like this?
No, it's this when you put your hands right close to the screen and go like that. Oh, it's so annoying.
Put your hand up.
No, don't do that. But you know what's also funny is people have gotten so used to online meetings, they'll even do a fake laugh and they forget that they're actually unmuted. So you can hear that they're not laughing. They're going like this. And I'm like, you're not making any noise. You're unmuted. That happened to me. I saw that twice this week in meetings. Yeah, it's like their shoulders are shaking, or they throw their head back and they're not muted, but there's no sound. And it's like, what are you doing?
It's because the laughter has left their body because we're all just sad and angry.
Dude, I'm telling you.
They're like, I'm dead inside.
All this everyone has given us some horrible habits. It's awful. All right. Let's talk about best visuals. I'll get my screen shared here. And we're going to start with a category that I'll put this in parentheses. We're calling it realistic. Listen, it doesn't mean that it's ultra realistic or it's something you would see in real life. It's just, in my mind, and I'll let you guys give me your thoughts if you like the way this is. I'm dividing this a little bit. It's meant to be like, hey, if this were in the real world, this is what it would look like, whether it's physics based. I think a big part of it's going to be the characters, like if their faces looked kind of real and the animations looked somewhat realistic. That's why something like Ratchet and Clank, while some of the environments are gorgeous and the lighting and the water looks great, I put that under the animated category because it looks like a gorgeous Pixar cartoon.
Absolutely.
Because that's in the more animated. So it's not a matter of which are better graphics. It's just, hey, which style are they going for? And then who nailed it the most. So some of these are really tough, like stuff like Life is Strange, which has arguably a ton of amazing artistic animated elements to it. but I put it under realistic just because of the characters. So
Yeah.
it's a tough one. There's some weird
And
like
it's Colorado. It's not like a real city or anything, but it is
Well-
Colorado, so it's supposed to be a real quote unquote place and
Sure.
And
low
as you
cap
can
and
see,
stuff.
as I share my screen here, as you'll see, stuff like 12 minutes, I don't know where to put that one. I threw it under realistic just because it's an overhead view of an apartment and there's people and the movement kind of has but once you zoom in, when you get into the closet and kind of look around, it doesn't look realistic. So I don't know. I could be convinced on some of these, especially ones like 12 minutes, that's not going to win anyway.
Right.
So I don't.
Yeah,
want
it's not going to be
It's
on
not
any of
gonna
these
win.
lists.
No.
Let's
Throw it
be
away.
real.
Throw it away.
Yeah.
Throw it away.
So all right.
In
Just
fact,
stack
I
you
like that
pissed
game a
Kyle-
lot,
You pissed
but-
Kyle off. He just left.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he's like,
Kyle.
oh, you talk about 12 minutes, I'm out of here.
You
Um,
got like 10 minutes to change the subject right now.
so there
Oh, less than 12 minutes.
there's a few that I feel like are going to be nearly impossible to categorize, and I think one of them that I think deserves attention in the visual category is It Takes Two. It's a really pretty game, and it's got some great design to it, but there's elements that you are like, it's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and you're in this gigantic kind of real environment, and yet your characters look like dolls brought to life, but also look like, a DreamWorks movie.
Well, I would say 90% of that game is animated. So
Yeah.
I
judging by
put it
that, I
under
would put it in animated. Yeah.
I put it
I put
under
it-
animated, but what
I
do you
would
guys
too.
think? Okay.
I would put under animated. Yeah, that one.
All right, that's
Just
where
because of like
sorry,
you're fighting
sorry.
a vacuum and it's ridiculous and clearly drawn.
Yeah,
like,
there's like googly
out of the
eyes on
cartoon.
it. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
But
that's,
even like the people characters don't look like, say, like Agent 47 from Hitman.
You're
Like,
right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
So-
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's a good.
Because like that's a good looking game. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So-
Right.
I also, this is kind of weird. I think I should probably move this one. But Biomutant
Yeah.
animated,
That's animated, I think.
right?
Biomutant
yeah,
probably
In
doesn't
the vein that
belong
Ratchet
anywhere.
and Clank is, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
animated
mean,
for sure.
it's not the prettiest one. Although I will say,
No.
I've heard, Derek can confirm this if I'm right or wrong. I've heard it actually looks quite good on PC, even though
Oh,
I didn't.
Balan Wonderworld. Thank God.
Biomutant, yeah, it looks good, but it's definitely more animated.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, let's go through some games that you want us to consider under the realistic category. And instead of going around and making everyone take turns, I kind of want you just to, for the sake of time, and also just whatever you see on the screen, just call them out instead of waiting for me to say your name and say go. So I'll start, and I will throw Call of Duty Vanguard over there.
Sure.
Try hard. I'm just kidding. Forza Horizon 5.
Forza, okay.
Hitman 3.
Hitman. Let's see.
Lost Judgment.
Lost Judgment. There you go. I'm gonna put
Well-
Marvel over
Yes.
Guardians of the
Just say,
Galaxy. Sorry to be
yeah.
specific.
Because they're drawn to be realistic or animated to be realistic. in
Oh,
that.
Battlefield, of course, 2042. The game looks amazing.
Halo
Tim,
Infinite.
Tim, can you speak to Lawn Mowing Simulator? or- No.
It certainly is realistic, but no.
Halo Infinite.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
Halo. There we go.
Yeah.
I feel
Far
like
Cry-
Far
Far Cry
Cry 6 looks amazing.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
I feel like
think so, too.
Deathloop's more animated.
I feel like
Um,
Deathloop's animated too.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's got a definite like cell shaded style to it. Like
Yeah, it's like
It's almost like a
Borderlands,
comic book, a little bit comic booky, right?
Well, that's
like,
fair. That's
kind
fair.
of.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. There's just so many in the animated category.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
just passed it. House of Ashes.
Oh yeah, from at least
Dark-
from the trailers, that looked pretty cool.
Yeah,
Some
whatever it is
visuals.
under Dark Pictures Anthology. Yeah.
All right, sorry, I had to switch Deathloop over here.
Oh, I got you. It's all good.
All right. What else? We moved Biomutant off of here. Okay. What about? I'm gonna put Chorus over, if just to give it a shout out for the way that things look as you're flying around in space, and the explosions do look quite pretty. If you ever try that game out.
I would
I-
also personally move like Little Nightmares 2 over to animated because it just feels like it's animated like a Tim Burton Corpse Bride type game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
agreed.
Like nobody really looks real in that.
All right.
Real to me, damn it.
Oh, is Kenya in this list? Then add that over.
That's in.
Kana?
I
Animated.
would say that's
That's
Oh, okay,
animated.
that's what I thought.
Kenya.
I saw.
Is the country Kenya in this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move
Kenya.
Life is Strange: True Colors over.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
I agree.
Let me go down here a little bit.
RE Village.
Yeah, I was gonna
or-
say Resident Evil's pretty realistic look. I mean, obviously there's some fantastical looking things in that game, but
Listen, I know we kind of make fun of Ubisoft, but Riders Republic actually did have some pretty good visuals. So I'm just
Riders Republic has
really-
amazing graphics.
Yeah.
at least when you're actually going downhill and those
It
moments,
looks
it's like
really good. On
You know what else
PC,
is good in
right?
that in that game? The script, like all the dialogue, is so good.
you're
We
right,
have a
bro.
best dialogue category.
So you
we-
want it for best story? Got
Dude,
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I was gonna say
Script-
best
yeah.
story.
The script is
It better
great.
be
No,
on
no
there. That's
cap.
all I'm saying.
No
Most
cap.
impactful game. Most impactful game.
I thought Returnal looked awesome. So
Returnal looks awesome. Yeah.
yeah.
What about Outriders?
No.
No.
I mean, on PC, yeah,
Don't
but
give-
it's
don't
still
give
not
me-
going to compete with these games. But overall, no.
I have
Uh,
Ascent in the animated category myself. I don't know how anybody else feels about that.
I feel like
Ascent?
it's
Yeah.
just,
The Ascent, yeah.
Yeah.
I personally would leave it in realistic, but it wouldn't win either one for me, so I don't care that much.
Oh, okay.
to me the area, like the levels, were more realistic than like.
Okay.
Sure. Because no creatures in that, is there? I don't remember.
There are.
If
Yeah,
we're gonna
right.
keep it realistic, I would recommend moving it over. I know it's not gonna make the 10, but it's.
Yeah.
I thought it looked amazing
Yeah,
for what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
for that isometric
I
style.
mean,
the
technically,
detail is
you should
unreal.
really be moving all the sports games over, but nobody cares.
I mean, we got Forza in there.
That's
I-
true. Yeah.
I didn't play.
I'm
Go for
saying, like,
realistic.
Yeah, if
you
you're
know,
going for
so-
realistic, they really do make every sports game look.
I didn't
Yeah.
play F1, FIFA, Madden, or MLB.
FIFA
What about Hot
looks
Wheels?
great.
Didn't you
FIFA?
guys say that looked good?
That's all right. Yeah, it looks all right.
I wouldn't.
That's alright.
Okay. Okay.
Haven't played Jurassic World Evolution 2
Yeah,
yet.
I think it's safe to move one. Yeah, just the one sports game is safe. That's safe. we're safe now, guys.
Well, Derek's actually played FIFA, so I'll take his word for
Oh,
it.
okay.
That looks great.
I know people are gonna
Oh.
cringe that we didn't move MLB, but I don't care.
The Medium actually had pretty decent visuals. I don't know if I would fight for it on the list,
Yeah,
but
throw it over just to give it a first round. Like
Yeah.
I thought
like-
especially during the scenes where you see the split screen of her talking to nobody and then her in that dark realm talking to this dead little girl, like some of that looked really
that was
good.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, the lighting's really good in this game. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
good stuff.
Okay, I think that's it.
I would have recommended Forgotten City, but I feel like they're just borrowing graphics from the mod, the Skyrim mod that they built that out of.
Yeah.
They look like Bethesda models to me for sure.
Exactly.
Also, it's not like it's amazingly animated or something. Like the models
no,
look fine.
no, it's
but,
it's meant to look like an indie for sure, and it definitely comes off that way.
Yeah. Okay.
R.I.P. Lawn Mowing Simulator, I guess, and I guess Unpacking. I don't know. Who knows?
I haven't played New World, that Amazon MMO, but that does look good in the trailers. I just don't know.
For an MMO, it does look pretty decent, but I don't think
Yeah.
it wouldn't be something that would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Well, there you go. There's our selection of ones to at least to consider here.
If it didn't have the typical Left 4 Dead graphical glitches, Back 4 Blood would be a good one.
I
too.
was going to say, can we move it over though? Because
Just move it over for an attaboy because I think the amount of things going on screen at once is pretty
Yeah.
impressive.
It looks
That's good.
really good.
It just suffers from the clutter that it happens in those games, though. It happens all the time. So
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to same thing as Ascent. I think Game Deck has a very similar aesthetic to the Ascent, although I do think the Ascent is more detailed and just sharper. It looks a little better, but Game Deck has a very similar visual element to it. So I like it, but I'm not going to move it over to fight for it or anything. Okay. Which games here, you can just throw them out there. Which ones do you think are no-brainers to move over to the top 10 somewhere?
Forza, yeah.
Hitman.
What about Resident Evil Village? I think that's a no-brainer, right?
yeah,
I think Marvel.
yeah.
Yeah,
Guardians
Guardians.
is up high for me too.
Yep.
Okay.
So is Halo.
Call of
Returnal.
Duty.
Oh yeah,
would-
I have Halo pretty high. Yeah.
I know I'm like it's a joke at this point, but Lost Judgment. Like if you never can go to Japan, this is the best way to go do it because
That's what they
all the
say
pla-
about all the Yakuza games too.
all,
right?
all the street corners and everything. Like they're all real. Even like the shops and stuff. Like they're all
Yeah.
I think it's a really easy way to like get like Japanese culture
Well-
and photorealistic graphics.
They're
Like,
always impressive looking games to me, especially on this current.
the
gen.
lighting and reflecting in this game is.
Well, and the
particularly
characters always look
out
really
this world.
detailed. Like you can always
Yeah.
recognize a character right away when you see. I think they do a great
Yeah,
job.
that and Yakuza Like a Dragon just
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
impressed me in the visual department.
Same here. Yeah.
I personally loved the visuals on Far Cry 6. I was playing it on
Bring it over.
PS5, and I just thought that everything from the up close visuals all the way to the draw distance.
I thought it looked great.
I
So,
think
just
Call
being
of
back in an
Duty has to
exotic
move
jungle.
over too.
I haven't
I think
played
so
it.
too. Yeah, I think
I haven't.
I haven't played it either, but you can tell like the graphics of that game are amazing.
Jeff,
Yeah.
you're the only one who's played it, I
They
think,
are.
right?
It looks great. I don't.
Oh, I played Vanguard.
Oh, did you? Okay.
I just
Yeah,
didn't beat it.
I'm in the same boat as Derek. I just didn't
Re-
beat the campaign. Right.
Returnal is a pretty gorgeous game.
Yeah, it is.
I agree.
See, here's my thing. I think it is good looking when it's moving around, but if you look at like some of the the levels, like they look like they were not even completely, I don't know how to say it, like it almost looks 16-bit, like some of the
Textures?
details of the world. Yeah, the textures.
Well, I think that's
Dude.
maybe the particle effects, things floating around. Maybe I don't know.
No,
I
I
haven't
think
played
you're
in a
right.
while.
It's one of those games
talking
where
about the
you're
actual
meant to be
textures.
moving nonstop, and when you slow down, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's not
Well,
permanent.
And if you
I'm not
add,
saying
if
we
you,
can't move it over. I'm just saying.
and if you
it
add
doesn't-
detailed textures to a game like that, it slows down how fast it
Yeah.
goes because
Yeah, and that game relies on speed.
There's a give and a take there.
Okay, so that's 9. Derek, what are your thoughts on FIFA, or maybe all of us, because we've all played it? Life is Strange, True Colors. What do we think?
To me, like honestly, I think of the games I've played, Back for Blood and Riders Republic look better than Life is Strange. Like I like how Life is Strange looks, but I also I take into account like the animations and how everything moves and stuff like
Yeah.
that graphically.
I think it's
and
the environment, right? The environment shines in.
the
Life is
environment is
Yeah.
what looks good. Everything else is okay.
The faces are great, but you're right. Overall animations, how they move, still a little bit telltale.
You know what it is? Is like everything's realistic except like, for instance, I was thinking like the main girl's face is basically animated like Kenya's face. Like there's no like realism to their like actual bodies or anything like that. It's not realistic. It's almost more cartoony. Yet everything else around is trying to look more realistic. If that makes sense.
Gotta
it's not
give
as
it
detailed.
Got to give it some love for their expressions, though. Like her little half smiles during
Yeah.
certain moments are.
Yeah, it felt like a real person doing
that.
stuff.
That actress did it like a crazy excellent
did
job,
like that.
like with that character.
But I only played a little bit of Riders Republic, maybe like an hour total, and I think it looked great, but not necessarily enough to say it should go in over Battlefield or FIFA or House of Ashes. Like I could be convinced on really any of those, or even Back for
Sometimes
Blood.
when you run up to something in Battlefield, like there's no textures at all, so it'd be hard for me to fight for that one. Which
The thing I heard is that Battlefield really only looks really good on PC. That it's kind of a letdown on consoles, so that's why I didn't say anything.
I mean, letdown's like a hard word, but like if you stop and like Returnal, if you stop and look around and go, oh yeah, this is kind of like cheap. There's 124 players playing. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
concessions.
Yeah,
so,
I think the problem is people were comparing 2042 versus what was it?
Sure.
Battlefield 5 was the last one,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
5 had less players, so it was more. It was
Yeah.
it was better graphically.
So what do you
I
guys
agree.
think deserves the last top 10 spot, regardless of where it lands? What do you think hasn't gotten enough?
I'm
attention?
pro Life is Strange moving over. House of Ashes is the one that I think I'm the only one that played, but it still has some of the dark pictures, kind of, or I guess Supermassive. They're kind of known for making these games. It still has kind of that wonkiness with some of the character animations.
Yeah.
That it's hard to group it in the 10 of the absolute best for the year, but I still thought it looked the best out of all of the Dark Pictures series so far.
Okay.
But Life is Strange is where I'm leaning because it's just such an improvement from the other games.
Let's
Life
just
is
move over Life is Strange. Everybody
I loved it.
enjoys at least some aspect of it visually.
Yeah.
If something on the round 1 section you guys think are better than Returnal, then I think that's fine if we want to swap it.
I don't personally. Like I like
Okay.
Eternal being on there.
I mean, it has a
I think
Yeah, I
it
feel
has a
pretty
cool
good about
style,
Returnal.
art
right?
style
In the
being
10.
like Cthulhu-esque
But-
that like really makes it appealing as well.
But let's
Sci-fi
be
Cthulhu.
clear too. If any of us played FIFA extensively and wanted to fight for it, you could probably make a case that that's one of the best looking realistic games of the year.
I did. I play FIFA every year.
But I mean, is that one that you would really push for, or if it's like, yeah, but it's another
See,
FIFA
the thing
game.
is, but that's what I'm. The thing is with these type of lists. Yes, we are rating the best visuals, but we're also rating like the games that we like that visually look amazing. So
yeah,
I mean, just being real, because
You're right.
if we were doing it based off of what is objectively the best and most realistic game, it's going to be all sports game and Call of Duty.
See, and
That's
I
gonna
would
be your top
argue,
in
I would argue
Forza.
very little coding has to go into making those games look prettier, because that's literally all they're changing every year is just making it just look a little better, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't feel like a lot of work goes into that, and to me, that counts against its score. Because
Fair.
you're not building
I
a whole
agree.
new, you're not building a whole new thing. You're just making last year's thing look just a little bit better.
It's a
And
reskin.
that's got to
Yeah.
be super easy, you know? So like, I
They
don't.
just mocap everything.
Yeah,
So-
and like, and that's not to take away that they actually do look really good, but I'm just saying like the work that goes into making it really good is not on the same level as some of these other games.
Okay.
Well, plus it's also with a lot of these games, it's dependent on like how big are they, and like with like a sports game, you're just loading in an arena,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep. I think
and
that
then
that matters too.
players,
Absolutely.
and then fans. So yeah, you can spend a lot of time making every part of that visual that you're gonna see for an hour while you play it look amazing. So
Yeah.
anyways, the
how
point
good-
I was making is I think the list we have is fine. We don't have to put everything that we think is objectively better. I do think we've got pretty much the ones that to me stick out.
I agree. I'm with you on that.
All right. Well, let's start to kind of do what we've done before. Or
We
the ones
already
that...
we already know Forza Horizon 5 is
Forza
number
should
one.
probably be at the top. Probably.
That was my feeling too, but I was like, am I being biased in saying that, or does everybody kind of?
No, I don't know. I think it's probably one of the best looking games I've ever seen in I'm playing on a Series S. Like I'm not even
Yeah.
seeing it the best that it could actually look. So
Yeah, I switched to Series S to PC, and the PC kind of blew my mind. It looks so good.
I mean, it seems hard for these racing games to ever. I mean, like how long did Gran Turismo look excellent, or Forza has looked excellent? I mean, they always look excellent.
Yeah,
right?
So
they're
you
always
could
the
apply
benchmark for
this
these games.
same the argument I was just saying about FIFA. You could apply that to this series as
Sure,
well.
sure,
You know what I mean?
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I would argue that because this is open world and they change the location every single time.
It's
Yeah.
not just an
And-
arena. Yep, that's true.
Yes. So if this was motorsport, I would not have motors. Well, it would probably be on the list, but it would be towards the bottom.
A little
I
lower,
feel you.
yeah.
Because it's
Because
the same maps every single time.
You're getting the same
Yeah.
tracks. You get like
Yeah.
a few new ones or whatever.
I
This
agree,
is
yeah.
open world, totally different location, different weather systems,
They
different.
built new geography and
Everything's
vegetation
new.
and all of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think Forza Horizon 5 deserves number one, hands down. I've played it
Okay.
on both Xbox Series X, and then obviously you guys know my 3090 PC that I love and adore. So I've seen it to me at the top quality, and it's amazing. It's
Dan, what do you
gorgeous.
think of what we've got here so far? Is there any that are kind of obviously in that top group for you?
I mean, Guardians is definitely up there. Guardians. I mean, I played on, not on PC, but
Yeah, get on my
that-
level, bro.
that's okay. Well, when I have more money, I'll get on your level. All right.
I don't know, man. I played it on PS5 and it looked amazing.
Yeah, it
It's-
looked
it's-
amazing on PS5.
It's unbelievable. Like the environments are gorgeous. The character models look fantastic. Like all of them.
Guys, I threw away my PS5 when I started playing God of War on PC. I was like, it's not
That
even
is
worth
BS.
owning.
It always
I
looks a little
literally
better.
just fell asleep. Did I
You're
miss
such a
something?
liar.
I literally just passed out.
Lies.
I threw it away. It's ridiculous.
Um,
It was breathtaking.
yeah, and stunning.
Almost like
Stunning.
Keanu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Guardians is up there. Hitman 3 is a really nice looking game.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
I
is.
haven't played 3 specifically, but I mean, I played 2 and I've seen a lot of 3, and like that game is like super detailed.
I
lot
think
of
level
detail.
design. I think level design goes into like this
Visuals,
argument as
yep.
well. So if we're talking, this is it. Like we've been talking about that level 3 or chapter 3 in this game all year since January last year.
Right. Yeah.
And like now's the time to like pull the trigger on like celebrating this game's like
Yeah.
visuals with
I
just
think-
that level on its own. Even though I think all the levels are kind of
Yeah.
really
The
amazing,
opening
so-
level is pretty visually stunning with the light
It is.
coming in.
Yeah,
through
in
that
Dubai.
palace.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
Oh,
beautiful.
the
yeah.
light-
I played
it's-
this on my PC that couldn't handle it at it could handle like medium maybe or low settings, and even at that setting, it looked freaking amazing.
yeah.
So
Um,
I feel strongly about that being in the top half.
Yeah, lighting is a big component for me with visual, and then like
Well,
like
I mean-
like shadows and reflections and stuff, things like that.
Mhm.
So
to
What
me,
about-
Resident Evil Village and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy are two games that absolutely have to be in the.
I
I was
agree.
gonna say
Top
Resident Evil
3.
Village stunned
I
me
agree.
visually as well. I thought it was just beautiful.
yeah,
Great
Yeah,
level
yeah.
design too, where by the end of that game, like you knew every square inch of that village.
Right.
because it had you running through it so often. Just really good
Right.
level design in that game.
It was also really varied. Not that's more of like a gameplay quality, not necessarily, but I loved the varied visuals because
Right.
you went from this like
Yeah.
incredibly ornate, everything's gold trimmed and this big mansion, and then all of a sudden you were like in
Creepy
this
dollhouse.
creepy
Again,
dollhouse, and then this murky swamp, and
The
like
swamp,
this
yep.
factory with all the metal. It was
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
change locations constantly, and they were not. You can't reuse assets when you do stuff like that. So I think that like the extra work that goes into making these places should count. It counts for
and
like,
the
it being
actual
better.
village. The village
And again, the
itself is
lighting,
well done.
the lighting or lack thereof, and sort
Yeah.
of the way that the darkness works with
Yeah.
the environments too.
Yeah,
So-
but see, to me, Village was more lit up. Like Returnal hides a lot of its ugliness in the darkness. Resident Evil Village actually has a lot of contrast. Like it has dark areas, but for the most part, you're lit up in a lot of areas.
Returnal
They
definitely
still
would
look
be at the bottom.
Really good.
Yeah,
I would say Returnal-
RE Village was very much so a very detailed game. In my limited time with it, it really impressed me on a visual level.
Okay.
I personally would put Halo Infinite in the top 5, but I don't know how everybody else feels about that. I just feel that was like the best looking Halo I've seen so far.
Well, it is.
It was.
Well, Halo.
I would
5
say
is
that
best looking.
I would fight harder for that if the environments were a little more varied, and I know that's like stupid. I know it's
That's
stupid
what
because they're
I-
on a Halo, so it's like you're asking like I have a sand level, But
Okay,
like,
but okay, when I got to the end of
Yeah.
that game, story-wise, I was just thrilled. The adrenaline's pumping, and I loved it. But if
Yeah.
I had to go through one more of those metallic hallways at the end, I was like, just kill me
Oh,
now.
that's fair. Yeah, there's a repetition there. Yeah.
I was like,
I already feel
had
that
enough.
with Halo 2.
I've had enough of these, and I understand it. I get it, and there's plenty of like dialogue and story happening as you're walking. Like I get it, and it kind of gives you a break between fights. But I was kind of like, I'm either outside in this very pretty wooded area or inside in this very pretty kind of ancient whatever shrine.
In my
I liked it. I just
opinion-
didn't think it was as good looking as like Far Cry 6 had
Yeah.
way more moments where I paused and was like, I got to take a screenshot of this.
Far Cry
Yeah.
6 to me looks better. I think Infinite should be in the top 10. I just think it should be in the lower half.
yeah,
Okay.
same. I think it's easily one of the best looking games this year. But
It
when you
is.
start quantifying all these other like
And
layers-
I personally, this is just my just me thinking this. I don't have any evidence. I really believe they were planning to make Halo Infinite more varied as far as locations and weather and all that stuff. But I think after the reveal and them having to go back and fix how the game looked, they didn't have time.
didn't they
to
say they
add
cut like
much.
a high percentage of this game to like
Oh,
actually
I
make it?
guarantee.
Didn't they say-
cut
I thought that
so
was
much
verified,
side
yeah.
quests and all that stuff out. I guarantee you they did.
Okay. What about Call of Duty versus Far Cry 6?
I think. Oof.
I think Far Cry 6 should go above it.
I
yeah,
think so too.
this
I bet
is
Call of Duty
just-
looks better, but I think Far Cry 6 probably has a better environment and a little more.
As much
I
as
was
yeah,
gonna
as much
say,
as you
you're
can.
going
That's what it is.
against- It's open world versus
Yep.
level based.
Yeah, and it's World War II level design, so I feel like
I've seen
You've
it.
seen
they're
it
secretly
5
reusing assets a little bit.
Well,
maybe.
They
Far
have to
Cry
be.
6 is
They have
like
to be.
jungle environments from like, technically if you want to go back to the roots of Far Cry, but
It's true.
Which and three was a jungle
Although
environment.
for me,
Yeah.
the Far Cry experience was a lot like my Forza Horizon 5 experience. It's not
Yeah,
saying
it's
that the
like
previous
Mexican.
games seems just not saying the previous games didn't look good. It's just
Sure.
something about the way that they developed this one. They just crushed it, and it felt new, and it
It
was.
is. It's better looking than 5, and 5 was great looking.
Yeah.
really can't lose with any of these, to be honest. So
I think Vanguard should go towards the bottom too, and the reason why is again, is it objectively better looking than almost every game? Probably. But I think it's again comes down to it's a smaller game, they can make it look better, and it's an uninteresting environment because, well, again, how many World War games have we played?
Yeah, they're especially Call of Duty. I feel like they've just drained the well completely on that war. So
Kyle, what do you
yeah.
do with Halo Infinite and Lost Judgment, Kyle?
that's tough.
That's such a mean thing.
I mean,
I
Call of
just-
Duty's got it.
I would put Lost Judgment above it because, like, visually, like, Tokyo's just neon filled and there's all this stuff going on. There's water on the ground. There's so many reflective surfaces going on. The frame rate hardly ever drops. It performs really well despite all these, like, heavy kind of graphical things happening. I would say it goes above it, but, like, if you guys want to fight for Halo to be above that, I got no problem.
Haven't played it. Only can go off the trailers, and I do think I can acknowledge that it looks great.
Yeah.
in the
I
trailer.
think it
That's another
certainly looks
game-
more like you're playing a movie than Halo does.
It's
Halo
and,
looks
oh,
like you're playing
and
Halo,
that's,
you know?
thank you for bringing that up. Like it's shot more cinematically, and I think
Yeah.
that goes into visuals as well. And I think if we're talking about things that are being shot like in a movie like way, like this game really nails that. Even though Halo has a lot of cinematic moments, I would say too.
Yeah, for sure.
Cutscenes.
Well, what if we
Uh,
did something like this where
I was gonna
Lost
say
Judgment
that, yeah.
sits above Halo and Call of Duty slides below both of them? What do
I'm
we think
alright
about
okay.
that?
Yeah.
And then I wasn't trying to say Returnal or Life is Strange True Colors are ugly games by any stretch. They're in our top 10. They just seemed to be kind of like barely making the cut,
Yeah,
or maybe
yeah.
not quite
Right.
in the
They're
list.
less
So,
part of the convo. It seems like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
personally think Returnal is a little better looking and just visually. I just think overall everything that's happening on the screen and all the different biomes, and I've only gotten through about half of that game, and I still think the biomes are really cool, especially when you first get to the planet that's got like that red clay. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this game has
Yeah.
some cool looks to it. Anyway,
Sure. Yeah.
The last one is so cool. I mean, I know you guys haven't seen it, but when I got there, it was it looked really nice.
We
That
get
what's
it.
last-
funny
Pro
is-
gamer.
We get it.
get
You're really good. We get it.
I tried playing that one again a couple weeks ago, just like I just experienced with the Dead Cells. It's one of those things where you realize like, oh, you have to get good at this again if you put it down for a while.
Right,
'cause
yeah, no,
it's
absolutely.
like a slap in the face when you go back to it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Right.
oh,
Where
'cause
are
I-
all the articles asking for Returnal to put an easy mode in?
They're
they're out
gone.
there. They're out there
Gave up.
somewhere.
Didn't that happen?
I thought it did.
Yeah, I'm
like the
pretty
week of
sure
release,
that
at
got
least.
secured as well. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they both got.
I'm
those,
sure
yeah.
I would be shocked if Kotaku didn't write 5 articles about that, and that's in that week that it came out.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
This
their
feels like
MO.
our top 10 to me, unless I missed something. It feels like we've got a pretty solid list. What do you think?
I agree.
I think it's amazing. Yeah.
Did I miss something? Dan, what do you think?
Well, I guess then it maybe comes down to personal preference, or not personal preference, but like I think maybe I guess I would choose Guardians and Resident Evil to go above Hitman.
That's how I feel.
That's
also
just
because
slightly.
I like those games.
That's how my list looks. Actually, Hitman's below those two.
Just slightly.
To me,
I
it's
wouldn't mind that
Hitman's
either. because
animations.
Hitman is still like we're talking top 5 or whatever. We're still
Great
talking
lighting
like
and
celebrating
stuff, yeah.
celebrating its like level design, but like we're on a visual level when you're talking about hey, I want to show somebody who doesn't game like a game. So
Yeah.
let's see like the white leave their face when they see something look so good.
Yeah.
Marvel's and Village I think looks better than Hitman. You know.
That's
And
fair.
I personally, and again, it's fine if y'all don't move it up. I think Resident Evil should be above Guardians.
I'd back you up on that if we had more people.
To me, that's a draw. Like I do have Forza at the number 1 spot. It just visually it's unreal. Even on the
Yeah.
Xbox One X, I downloaded it so my son and I could play together on there, and I was just like, even on this last gen console, it looks unbelievable. Let alone on PC or on a Series X. Just crazy.
I think a
But-
true test of its graphics are like going 250 on a highway
Yeah.
and just seeing it not crap out on you or like
Silky
frame rate drop.
smooth.
Yeah,
It
I don't
just
know
looks
how I don't know how they
amazing.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as Guardians and Resident Evil, to me, it's kind of a push. They're both gorgeous. I guess we could come down to a vote for it. I personally pick Guardians above it, but not by much.
I
It's
pick
a
Resident
push.
Evil.
What do you think, Dan?
Oof.
This isn't favorite game. This is just on visuals.
No, I know. It's just I'm just in my head. I'm trying to like really quick like go through categories in my head that is important towards visuals.
that
Like
first, like,
again, the
werewolf
lighting
jumps
and
out-
reflections.
When that
and-
first werewolf jumps at you in Village,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like it's exhilarating. Man.
It is.
True.
But again, it's
True.
like it's the thing with like Guardians. It's like it looks fantastic, of course, but like because it's like you're in space.
Yeah,
I feel
there's
like
a lot of high concept art come to life like in that
yeah,
game. So
but there's
I-
less to play with like lighting and shadows and stuff. I think maybe I don't know.
I don't know, man. And Guardians, when you finally get to the level, without spoiling anything, where you're trying to hunt this giant beast, and all of a sudden everything looks way different than it has before. Like
Sure.
when you get to like that's when I realize again, not that level or environment of variety makes a game look visually better,
Yeah.
but they nailed all the different levels. Like the very first
think
one with
so,
all that
too.
pink goo everywhere,
Yeah.
or
Well,
inside
yeah.
the ship.
Groot has
or
a
on
moment where
nowhere.
Groot has to light up your path in a cave where it's completely dark.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I thought they handled that lighting like it looked.
Yeah.
really
Again,
bright.
it's something I'd have to have side by side. It's bottom line is like they're basically even essentially.
They're
Like
pretty gorgeous.
That's how I feel.
So vote.
Yeah, pick one.
Derek
We
wants
got- Pick one, Dan.
democracy. Derek wants democracy.
I've got Guardians. Derek has Resident Evil. Kyle, what do you have?
Resident Evil.
Okay, it's Jeff.
Guardians.
Dan, it's up to you.
Dan.
So by like the smallest amount, I would say Resident Evil.
Yes.
All right.
By the very smallest amount.
This is racist somehow. It just is. I don't know.
Racist.
Well, you're more racist, sir. So
This is rigged, and I refuse to concede. And
Maybe
in fact,
if-
we're going to stay on this topic until you guys acknowledge that.
Filibuster.
Guardians is better.
Maybe if Star Lord hadn't been a white male, this would have gone differently. Okay.
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know what?
that's how
I,
I
you know,
feel
I like
about
T'Challa as my Star Lord. So.
I
Yeah.
actually do too. And what if that's pretty great. All right. All
How
right.
is that dude a better Star Lord than actual Star? That's so.
Yeah,
Crazy
I know.
how well
this
they
makes
wrote him
more
as
sense to
Star-Lord.
me than Chris
No.
Pratt for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
So there's our top 10. That seems a little more accurate. There's something a little off, but not that Hitman doesn't deserve all the visual accolades it
Yeah,
gets. It's
no,
just
Yeah.
Guardians, Resident Evil, both.
They're
It's easy
visual
to forget about
powerhouses.
something about Resident Evil Village because it was at this point 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
game came out in May. So
Again, you'd have to have these games side by side, and it'd be like really nitpicking like all these little
Yeah.
things, and like
Yeah.
it's
Sure.
like they're all so close in different ways, you know. Slightly.
what's cool
different
about
ways.
it too is if you play Forza, Resident Evil, Guardians, Hitman 3, Far Cry, like whichever one you pick, you're gonna get amazing and Lost Judgment and Halo Infinite. All these, we can go down the whole list. They're
Yeah.
all very, very unique. The only ones that have a lot of similarities, I would say, are Far Cry 6 and Forza Horizon 5. There's actually a lot of similarities in their visuals because one
Sure.
is set in a fake version of Cuba and one's set in Mexico. They both have some similarities to them, but man, there's some really good looking games this year.
Yeah.
So our top 10, if you're just listening, if you're not watching on YouTube, you can't see the list, so I'll read them off to you. At 10, we've got Life is Strange: True Colors. 9 is Returnal. 8 is Call of Duty Vanguard. 7 is Halo Infinite. 6 is Lost Judgment. 5 is Far Cry 6. 4 is Hitman 3. 3 is Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. 2, Resident Evil Village. And number 1, best looking realistic visual game this year is Forza Horizon 5. That was the only obvious one to me too. The rest of them, it comes down to preference, I think. All right, so there you go. There is our first shared list. We made it. That wasn't too bad.
did
Let
it.
me stop sharing.
Did it, guys?
Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and keep sharing because we're going to jump right into the other visual category. Let's
Oh,
just
snap!
let's just go right into it.
Right back into more rage.
So
Alright.
continuing this idea of best visuals, stylized, animated,
Okay,
however you want to.
get rid of all this weird anime bull crap.
No,
Nobody
anime
cares.
stays. Shut up. Anime stays. Quiet.
All right. So if you're watching on
Tales,
YouTube,
for
you can
example?
see our eligible games. Honestly, I did the same thing I did with most of the lists. I just have a list out of Metacritic that's easier for me to quickly output into the spreadsheet. It's much faster for me to leave them all in there than to go through and be like, well, they would be mad if I left Bark in there, so I should delete it. I don't care. I'm just going to leave it there. You can ignore it if you want. I don't know what it is. I have no idea.
Something a
um,
dog does.
Something a
Yeah.
dog does. So
That's
let's
all I know.
starting from the top, working our way down. What jumps out to you? I'm going to go ahead and say that we should at least recognize Astria Ascending's
Oh yeah.
artwork for best animated visuals.
Where's Backbone?
Oh, I forgot about that one. Good call.
I thought that one looked pretty, like, really good for its style.
Balan Wonderworld, right?
No,
Or-
I
No.
refuse to move it.
I won't.
You know what? I'm just going
Is
to delete
Unpacking
it.
in here,
I'm just gonna
or
delete it off the list.
Death's Door and Deathloop need to both come out.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Let's see here. Curse of the Dead Gods looked good, but not amazing. Like Hades really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
Curse of the
Hades
Dead
nailed
Gods,
that.
Gods
It was
was
solid.
close, but
Eastward is gorgeous. I'm
I'm glad you like it. Good.
I'm halfway through that, so visually it's insane.
Yeah.
You guys are we
Pixel
bringing-
wise.
we're not bringing over Crash. That's not a thing.
Where
Ah.
is it?
No, let's not do anything.
No, Crash does visually look really good. You have to give it that at least. Like,
And that game
Trickery,
should be
guys.
eligible every year that exists. It should always be eligible. Um,
Tails, obviously, I know that's further down, but Tails,
Oh,
absolutely,
okay. Yeah. Tales
Like,
of Arise.
like
Artful
unbelievably
Escape.
gorgeous.
I'm gonna move over Artful Escape now that we're down here.
Ah, sure.
I'm also going to move over Tales of Iron. Tales of Iron, the visuals, I don't think it'll make top 10, but it's worth noting it. It actually reminds me, I was trying to think, what game looks like this? It's got that
Darkest
kind
Dungeon.
of, a little bit Darkest Dungeon, but I would say even more Valiant Hearts if you played that World War
Oh,
I
okay.
game, where it's like the storybook cutouts a little bit,
Mhm.
moving on it's Tales of Iron looks really cool.
Derek, speaking of anime games, Scarlet Nexus is obviously gorgeous. I mean,
Yeah. The only issue I
Psychonauts
have with
2 for
Yeah,
just
that
visual
game
style.
is
Yep. Ratchet.
Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, Ratchet for sure.
Ratchet. We jumped out of order. Let's go back up. We missed a bunch. Let's see what else we got.
Echo Gen.
Yeah, that one
That
does
game
look
looked
really
really
good.
good.
That has a very cool style. Yes, very cool.
Ender Lilies looks amazing. I'm moving that over. I don't know if you guys have seen any videos of that.
Genesis Noir's art style is freaking insane.
Okay.
Guilty Gear Strive.
Guilty Gear's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is gonna be tough.
It takes two, baby.
That's why I was hesitant to put.
Okay.
Oh, It Takes Two. I was hesitant to put too many over here because there's so many.
Kenya.
Kana.
Kena, yeah.
Kena.
It's Kenya.
Stop talking about
Kenya.
Kenya. That's
Not
a country.
Kenya.
Little Nightmares 2 is freaking insanely gorgeous.
Yeah, if you like trash.
I wish I
feel like good
played-
games.
Lost in Random was pretty, but I didn't play it myself.
Yeah, it's like a timber. It's kind of like Psychonauts a bit in that realm, but Psychonauts might be a little sharper. So
What about Monster Hunter Rise? I mean, do you take into
No.
account the fact that it was on Switch? Like it's
No,
so good
because
looking
I'm
for a
playing it
Switch
on
game.
PC and it's
I would say no.
4K. It's
I think it's an
all decked
amazing
out
running.
and
I think it's
Yeah.
a great performing game. I don't know.
Yes.
It's like, yeah.
Okay,
It looks
that's
good
fine.
for a Switch game. So if we
I
were
agree.
doing like best visuals for Switch, yes.
What about new Pokemon Snap?
that is probably legitimately the best looking Pokemon game that's ever been made. But
Does
I
it
don't
look
think
good
I
though,
don't.
for this year.
No, it does, but I don't think it would. I don't think it would be in the top 10. So
I had Persona 5 Strikers on my list, but then I was like, wait, they're just kind of reusing the same.
Same assets, yeah. Good
Yeah,
looking game, though.
so-
Yeah.
I'm throwing
I-
Oddworld over here just for because it's the one thing I loved about that game. Although I was kind of disappointed in the gameplay, but it looks great.
I mean,
Oh.
throw Pokemon Snap over then. It legitimately looks
Okay.
very, very good. But
you
I
go.
just don't think it's gonna make top 10. So
That's fair. All right. What else?
I
do we
only
got
have one
here?
left, and I know you're kind of indifferent towards it, Tim, but Sable I thought looked
Sh-
really cool.
sure.
Mm.
Oh
Shin
my
Megami
god,
Tensei 5.
Sable's so ugly.
Shin Megami.
Yeah.
No,
for
it's
sure.
not,
Yeah.
bro. It's a
Bro, I
Bro.
tried to play that to
Visual
unlock
style.
an achievement and I wanted to suicide myself.
Derek, I told you.
Solar
I told
Ash?
you.
You guys got Solar Ash on there?
I
or
don't feel
no?
strongly about
No.
the visuals. I'm gonna be
Okay.
honest with you. They're all
Alright.
kind of like the same color scheme, so I don't
Sure,
really
alright.
feel that strongly about it.
but it's a cool style,
okay,
though,
I
right?
think
to
the
be
gameplay's
fair-
better
to
than
be
the
fair,
visuals. That's true.
We moved over Sable, and Solar Ash has some similarities in terms of kind of like the style that they decided. It's just more
Yeah,
colorful. I
That's-
like
that's
Solar
what-
Ash way better than Sable's visuals.
I
personally.
disagree. I think the visuals in Sable are better, but I mean,
I've
that's fine.
seen
We can move
Solar
it
Ash,
over.
and the
Neither
visual
will
of
make
Solar
the
Ash
time
is the one that
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to play it. I was like, this game looks great.
Yeah.
Oh shit, Space Jam! You gotta move Space Jam over.
I'm
Yeah,
not
that
moving
one's
space.
legit. Space Jam was legit.
It was legit in that it exists, I guess.
I mean, it was an Xbox exclusive, so
Um,
it better win on the
Tim,
next
didn't
category.
you?
Yes.
Tim,
Exactly.
didn't you play Unbound Worlds Apart as well? I thought you played that a little bit, where you like alternate between you like open a portal.
Oh
to
yeah,
alternate
that
your
did look really
environment
good.
or whatever. I thought that one looked good.
Yeah, that one looked great. Yeah. I forgot to put Valheim on here, but I know I'm probably the only one who loves the visuals on that game.
Yeah, I think
I enjoy it. I enjoy the visuals, but
It's all about style. It's not saying that this is the best
Sure.
animator or anything. It's just the
yeah,
style.
and that's why I went with Sable over Solar Ash because of the style. It's
No,
just
it works for my logic, not for yours.
No,
Okay.
Sable is literally like a poor, untalented person drew something on a
Whoa.
piece of
Why
paper.
did
I
it
was
be
like,
poor?
No.
You could be a
Derek
really
hates
untalented
art
person.
confirmed. Derek hates art confirmed. I get it. That's great.
Yeah,
I think
Derek
he's-
hates poor people. I heard
so
Derek hates poor
ugly.
people. That's what
And
I
It
Kyle-
is
Kyle-
so
Kyle
it's
has a great
animated
point. Why are they
terribly.
poor?
It is
Yeah.
the trashiest of trash.
No, it's
I
not.
just
Go
don't
ahead and
understand
move,
why they. I don't understand
um,
why they have to be poor. That's all I'm saying.
Solar
right.
Ash. Let's move that over. Just because.
They definitely subscribe to poor pass.
Derek-
That is definitely.
Derek sounds like someone from Eagleton right now. That's what he sounds like.
Anything else here?
The
Anything
I
leaders-
am the
Garbage
Sasan and Frank
takes.
Clark of this podcast.
By the way, I don't want to say that there's some
Oh,
major
Metroid.
Nintendo
Yeah.
games, Metroid, Mario Golf, Mario Party. I mean, we can move Metroid over. I just didn't think most of them were like, oh, top 10 for sure. So I didn't.
Yeah.
Sure.
But Metroid Dread does look good. It's just not top 10 for me.
Yeah.
In this particular category. All right, let's see what we've got so far. I think we got plenty to work with. Are there any that
Yeah, too many.
any that we didn't say that you guys want me to bring over?
Jeez.
Wow, that's too big.
That's what she said.
I knew it. I was waiting.
No woman would ever say that. Not to any of us white boys.
Depends on who you're talking about. You might say
Wait,
that's
what?
what they said. That's what they said. All right.
Sure.
That's what people with vagina said.
Yeah.
Does anybody else get upset when
People.
they
I
have
don't know.
to?
People with butts could say that too. Never mind.
You gotta say they and them said that. All right.
Yeah. Them said that.
Them said that.
So what are some obvious? I think like Ratchet and Clank to me and Psychonauts 2 are obvious top 10s.
Yep.
Right? Maybe not at the top immediately, but they're in there somewhere.
Kana.
Kane is an
my
obvious
opinion.
one for me. Yeah.
Kana.
It
I
Takes
think
Two.
I think
It
It
has
Takes
to be
Two.
up there because that level design, especially.
Okay, but not only level design, but also like the detail and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
little elements that
I'm
they have
a-
the visual cues for the puzzles. It's really clever.
I'm a big fan of Deathloop and Scarlet Nexus. Now,
Okay.
Scarlet Nexus, I'll trash like the environments, how they reuse them,
It's pretty though.
but it's
it's pretty
still good looking.
Tales of Arise.
Looks like generic anime, but okay.
Maybe.
I would know I'm the
You-
anime expert.
You look
so-
like generic anime.
I would know I'm the anime expert.
Yeah, I'm the anime expert, guys. So
Yes, let's pick Sable.
artful escape, please. Thank you.
Jeez.
So
Like,
I
escape your
thought that
opinion.
game looked really good. You guys all in agreement that goes in top 10, or is there something else?
Artful Escape.
I'm putting it by Death's Door.
I mean, the
where it's
visuals.
like,
I remember
not
running down because that's all it is, right? Is just visuals and music. So
and
I
music,
mean,
right?
I remember running down like certain parts and being like, "This is just freaking gorgeous!" Like the
Yeah.
I
the
still
colors,
think
it's like a-
Guilty
it's like
Gear
a-
needs to come
it's like
up.
What I love about
I
what I love
think
about it
Guilty
is as you're
Gear
running
is-
down the hill and then like all of a sudden everything starts to light up in the forest or
Yeah.
in the desert wherever you're. Like it's really good. Artful. What'd you say?
Guilty Gear. That game has so
Guilty
much
Guilty Gear.
style and it's so tight and crisp.
Yeah, this is tough because like Artful Escape is a really beautiful game. I'm looking at what's left over, and there are games that I would put above it. Like for me,
Yeah, like
Artful Escape would just be shy of the 10, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Like-
What else you got?
That's because you put trash like Tails in there.
Okay,
Anime expert, I would know.
Tails looks
anime
great. It
quote
looks
unquote
like a good
expert. Silence. All right.
What are we?
Let the
what are we
actual
missing?
expert talk.
Anime expert.
Shin Megami Tensei should be on the 10, but I would say
I haven't
this is
played
a
it.
tough 10, and that it's hard to bring that one over, just because it is a Switch game.
I'll put it right
and-
here with these three because
Yeah.
I still think Death's Door, both stylistically and how it runs and just generally how it looks, is amazing. But it's not everyone's cup of tea. I get it, but I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, I don't remember being personally blown away by the visuals in that game, but the gameplay definitely shines.
I think I also
what?
just kind of got for Death's Door. I think I really liked the very black and white or muted colors, and all of a sudden you'd get this big pop of color with whether it was your sword or whatever it was. So I just
That's
liked
interesting.
I just
I,
liked.
th-
the
I think it's a
vision.
good looking game. It's just kind of a bare bones like game. There's not a lot to it. Like it's just
It's
Not
a
until
lot of
later.
little details, right?
Okay,
Not a lot
but
of
not-
little details.
but not until later. Did any of you finish it?
Yeah.
no.
Okay. I feel like as the game progresses and you get to new environments, there's a lot to it visually. It's just you're right, especially at the beginning. it's very
when
muted.
you get to the 5th biome, that's when you really see how beautiful
This
You said-
uncultured
You said
piece of
biome.
garbage.
I don't know. Biome sounds
I think
more
Derek
interesting
is a bit
than
cranky.
biome.
Derek's a cranky baby right now, and he needs to go to bed. Is what happened.
All right, so we've got.
I
I-
need to piss,
I know we
that's
already
for
have
sure.
plenty, but like Little Nightmares 2's environments just look so freaking good. I've been playing it on PC, and it's it's just really stunning. Stunning and brave, that game.
Stunning and brave.
Um,
right.
If we were going to pick something pixelated, Eastward. I know I'm the only one that's gotten like super far into that one, but
So good.
that game is like shockingly good looking. Like
Yeah.
it's very, very good looking.
It's like the best of that 1632-bit style.
Yeah,
It's
like,
so good.
the
Yeah, I'm
the
with you.
way
I'll put it
the
right
way
here.
that they do shadow, like what I appreciate with pixel games when they're like doing an homage to like a Super Nintendo style game, but like giving it modern sensibilities is like
Yes.
the way like characters turn, like they actually do the
Yes.
pixels of their turn, or like the way that like the sun is beaming through the environment, giving those pixels like the appropriate color and
Yeah.
and shadows and stuff. You know what I mean? Like and in
Dude,
this
that's
game,
that's
like
Valheim. But anyway.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So
Is Eastward pretty puzzle heavy?
Not really.
But
There-
y'all,
well,
it sounds
there's
like y'all get a
puzzles.
little more time with it. So
Well, there's puzzles, but it's more kind of like, oh, you're moving this thing onto a switch to open this thing, and it's not overly complicated.
Okay.
No, they're pretty. I don't want to say too elementary, but they're pretty simple puzzles.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
that's it. All right, thank you.
Okay, so anything left? Because we got to trim out these extra ones, and I think we can do that. But anything left that you anybody wants to chime in and say this one at least deserves one last shot to make the 10. Anything that jumps out at you? There are games like Astria Ascending.
Yeah.
And I guess on the previous list, the Medium, where they're not my favorite video games. I didn't really enjoy playing them, but I do really admire the visuals and certain elements of those.
Yeah,
that's how I felt about Backbone, but
Backbone
I'm not comfortable moving it over to the 10.
I did finish Backbone. That game gets really weird, man.
It does. I just think the visuals are, really cool for being one of a billion anthropomorphic games that are out there this year.
Yeah, you get to be a raccoon detective, or you smoke a lot, and crazy things happen.
Raccoon.
Okay, so I think it's probably safe to say Deathloop, It Takes Two, Kena, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet, maybe Scarlet Nexus. We might have to choose between that and Tales of Arise, but Scarlet Nexus, Tales of Arise, Guilty Gear Strive, those are 8 that it seemed like there wasn't a big pushback against having those in. It's more about these 5 that we need to pick 2 out of these 5. Death's Door, Artful Escape, Shin Megami Tensei 5, Little Nightmares 2, and Eastward. I feel like Artful Escape is going to have the easiest time getting in, unless someone does not think it belongs in a top 10.
The only person that wouldn't think it belongs is Derek, and he's terrible.
But he didn't play it.
I will say I play it just to reject that shit.
Well, then you just admitted your scheme. You just admitted to your scheme.
Unpacking should be in there because the shoes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because of the shoes. Well, dude, when you take the stuffing material out of the box, it's amazing.
Feels so satisfying.
Yeah.
Moving the painting to the wall. Oh my gosh.
So I'm okay with Death's Door moving back over. I love the visual style of it. I do think and it's very clean. I really like it a lot.
I think Death's Door should be in the top 10.
It could be, but you can make an argument. I've only seen trailers for Shin Megami and for Little Nightmares 2, but they both look great.
Kyle, why does Shin Megami Tensei 5 look good? I played it, but I haven't gotten far enough in to say
it's like the creature design, but then you can say, well, hey, these are the same creatures in every game or whatever. Yeah, you're right, but they just look really good and really crisp in this. The animations are really good, even though it's kind of a turn-based game. The cut scenes when you finally get some story moments, they look good, and especially when you're
really
playing
good looking Switch.
Yeah, so especially when you're playing in handheld mode, you're like, holy crap! Look how far we've come in terms of being able to play games on the go. But I'm telling you, this would be a 10th place game. If it needs to be bumped off, it's not something I'm gonna sweat about. So
okay. And then Little Nightmares 2, Jeff. I know the first one had some really cool environments. The characters looked fine. I thought their animations were good, but to me, it was all about the environments. Is that the same case here?
Yeah, it's definitely the environments. Yeah, the characters characters certainly look improved compared to the first game because this one is adapted to current gen technology and whatnot. But it's still the same type of almost Tim Burton-y but creepier designs of the characters. You're immediately chased by a big fat butcher in the first opening level, and it's terrifying. But the environments that you're running through to try and escape him are just that's where the game really shines for sure.
Okay.
Similar to the first game. So I guess in that regard, it's it's kind of like the first game. But
would you put it in over Artful Escape?
No.
Wow.
Kyle, would you put in Shin Megami over Artful Escape? On your personal list of this
on
style?
My personal list, no. Yeah. I think Artful Escape is just moving art personally. So
Dan, would you put? I'll also throw in Tales because I do think it's pretty, but just since that's one that I know you're going to champion, Tales, Artful Escape, do those go in over Eastward for you personally?
I got your back, Dan. I got your back on Tales.
Well, thank you. It's funny that you say that because then I feel like I would hurt you. I would personally swap Artful Escape with Eastward.
Okay.
But that's just me.
You're stupid. That's why.
So
thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Thank you.
I love the artwork in Eastward, and I highly recommend folks go play it, especially if they grew up in that kind of 90s, even early 2000s realm of the 1632-bit adventure games. It's so good, and it looks
very good throwback game. Yeah.
I feel like visually, Artful Escape, I took screenshots, and I don't really do that a whole lot. In Artful Escape, I kept
Me
going like,
neither.
"Oh my gosh, look at this!" and it would zoom out,
Sure.
and you'd be jumping, striking this big solo note as everything lights up around you. Like, come on, man, that's so
I
pretty.
think
Yeah,
it's for a
It's
lot
just
of
one
people
style
that's-
versus another, you know. That's a
Yeah.
thing.
So
Artful
I
Escape is very vibrant, whereas Eastward looks like it's very bland.
Well, no, it is vibrant, but it's again without spoiling. It's depending on what area you're in, and
yes,
it
We've seen many games
starts.
designed
you know.
like Eastward though, so I'm not. I don't know. I haven't seen anything like Artful Escape.
Yeah. I will say
period.
this for Eastward, Dana's right. That area you start in is just
Yeah.
and I've only gotten to the
Yeah, it's pretty dour.
I've
yeah.
only gotten to the next area after that, but it's
and I would say
all of a sudden it's like, ooh, they did some cool stuff here. So it is
Yes.
pretty.
in general, I think Sprite and just like that style of art design or whatever that we used to grew up with, like with Super Nintendo. Like I feel like there's still a place for it and everything like that, and it's still like a chosen way of like doing art. And
Okay.
as I'm looking at pictures of Eastward, like this looks like one of the better versions that we've had.
Yeah,
in a while
it's
of
it's
you know?
It is,
super
for sure.
it's super elevated. Like I said, it's just the
Yeah.
way that it like literally animates like a modern game. It's just they're compensating it for like the individual pixels as like it's each animated cell. It's like they're really taking into account in the
All right.
detail of that.
There's
But
thousands of neckbeards out there that think like that's
So
the
many.
only true art style. Like so
Neckbeards.
like it's just.
But again,
moving-
like
it's
I
a
said,
favorite art style.
I'm
like I
moving
said,
Death's Door. I'm
Artful
moving
Escape,
Death's
if you
Door
guys-
over,
yeah.
and I mean, honestly, I'm kind of sold on any of these three making the top 10. So why don't we go ahead and vote? Kyle, which one would you put in there?
Shin Megami Tensei for me. Why not?
Dan,
Choose my own.
The Eastward.
Jeff,
Little Nightmares 2 because I'm saying.
Nice.
Derek.
I'm gonna pick the game I actually like, so it's Shin Megami.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Shin Megami as well on this one.
Nice. All right.
Democracy rules.
So Little Nightmares 2 and Eastward, excellent looking games, along with Death's Door. They just didn't quite make our list here. Is that Jeff? Are you typing out your resignation right now? You got.
I am. I'm typing out a notes on the notes app a bunch of racial slurs so I can get canceled.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
So who's the
clearly
more-
not an anime expert at all.
So who's
Yeah,
the
no,
more
this is
racist
terrible.
one now?
This is terrible. I prefer anime that actually looks different and not like the traditional bullcrap that you see all the time.
My God. What is the traditional bullcrap, Jeff? Please tell me what this traditional
No,
bullcrap
don't
ask the
tell
anime
us. Don't
expert.
tell us. Don't tell us.
I don't want to hear about it
Yeah.
either.
Can we let's speed this segment up a little bit.
Let's move it along. All right. I think the top group are the ones that we moved over automatically, and that starts with Ratchet, includes Psychonauts 2, and Kana. I think those are. Oh, and since Deathloop's in this category, I think that's right in the top half at least. That game.
It Takes Two. I mean, I would put It Takes Two at the top as well. I mean,
It's in there too.
I mean,
It's
Tales
insane.
of Arise needs to be further up.
No, it doesn't. It's bottom 5 at best.
Dude, Tales of Arise
No.
looks amazing.
I
I
mean,
think
sorry.
Tales of Arise looks better than Deathloop personally.
the thing for me is so for me personally, I'll just already say it. Tales of Arise is number one, but like say with Ratchet and Clank, like there's really good like lighting and stuff like that in that, right? Like good
Yeah.
lighting, good shadows.
Yes, there's
Ratchet
some
and
good
Clank is
lighting.
like
There's
in
good
Ratchet and
everything,
Clank.
dude. It's a literal
Easily one
Pixar
of the
movie.
best looking games
Yeah.
out right now.
So
Hands
that's
down.
yeah. But like just
we
the
talked
stu-
about textures in other games. Ratchet doesn't suffer from that. Like it's a detail down to the pixel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tales is just like it's basically like next gen cell shading, which maybe doesn't sound cool to some people, but like
It looks great.
You got real late game, and I imagine this because I've seen screenshots because Jesse
Yeah.
shared a lot. Like things get super crazy, you know,
Yeah.
and like so like that on-screen visualization of said like crazy things. Like I've seen the pictures and it looks great. You know what I mean? So like yeah, like the characters kind of look like your everyday like anime characters. Yeah, you're in your everyday fantasy areas, like in those like first few hours of the game, but like. That game really goes some places, and it has to really showcase some great graphics to do so.
Can somebody tell me why? Yes, I'm a hater. That's why I'm asking. But one of the reasons I'm a hater is because I think it's ugly. Why is Psychonauts 2 so pretty to you guys?
It's more of a style thing than it is like a pretty.
All right,
thing,
so
you
I
know?
just hate the style. So
You hate the
Yeah.
style of it. You don't like this
You do.
creepy Tim Burton Coraline
No,
style.
I hate that shit.
So when I
Yes.
played it a little bit on the Xbox One X at first, and I thought this looks kind of like a really cleaner version of the first one. I like it, and I played it on PC, and I don't even have 4K, right? I have a 1440 screen, which is that's basically
Get
like 1.5
on my
K.
level.
I know.
God.
And dude, even at my low poor man level, it looks so good. Like the level of detail and depth in each of these levels, and as Jeff was describing,
I'm gonna download it right now.
As Jeff was describing, like
Do it.
if you don't like the style, you're probably gonna think the characters look annoying. You don't like the way the faces are proportioned, kind of weird and stuff.
Right, yeah.
But if you just look at the quality and the detail in every level, and especially as it progresses, and you get to these crazier and crazy, like there's a mail room level that's just like these visuals are amazing for some of the like the mailroom as one example, where you got all this mail flying around and you're jumping from piece of mail to piece of mail as everything. And that's just one example. There's so
the
many.
library too is a
The
very
library.
cool
There's
environment.
a psychedelic band, kind of
Yeah.
60s, 70s band.
Yeah, this is definitely a level design category. So that's where Psychonauts shines 100%.
It looks like a dream, and that makes sense because it's all taking place in the psyche of various characters. So to me, it looks like a dream, and and sometimes like a nightmare.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
What's going on with Dan over here?
I don't know.
We just hear you swearing as your screen turns.
My camera's just being dumb.
But that being said, I'm not saying it has to belong in the top 3 or that I'd be above Ratchet or anything like that. To me, it was in the top group.
Yeah.
For
I mean, it's in my top 5, but I would put It Takes Two above it. And yeah, I don't know, because I feel like the level design and
that's fair.
It's just a more appetizing style that It Takes Two uses. Where like Derek is saying that he just doesn't like that Tim Burton-esque type of animation style. I feel like It Takes Two would be like more accessible for a lot of people.
Can you play It Takes Two by yourself?
No.
Stupid.
No, and it's actually not something you'd want to play with a stranger because you got to
actually throw a football in Madden. That's dumb.
So dumb.
This game's called.
You have to play football in Madden.
You have to play a game.
You're telling me that
It Takes Two.
You're telling me that the focal point of this co-op game is that you have to do co-op?
No, I'm not going to do that with you. Stop. We're not doing this. I've seen Black Mirror. I know where this goes. All right. I know what happens next. Okay, so Guilty Gear Strive, above or below Tales for you, Derek? You've played both of those.
Well, I mean, technically, Guilty Gear is better looking, but again, games doing 2 different things. I'm gonna put Tales above it because I feel like it's doing more. It has more locations. It's bigger. That's what she said. Yeah.
I'm looking at the animation style for Guilty Gear Strive for the first time, and I'm like, holy crap.
Guilty Gear is one of the best looking games on the market, period. But it also is just a fighting game. It's just
how is Tales above that? I know it's just a fighting game, but it's just the art style is just.
But it's
I'm
the
just
same logic that I
like,
use with like Call of Duty is a very like linear game versus an open world game or
like
open area game. Yeah, Tales of Arise is a bigger game. It's got more things going on. I'm gonna give it the edge, but Guilty Gear is very good looking game.
Yeah. Tales does look good.
I was gonna say Guilty Gear is always like one of the best performing fighting games ever because it's so fast paced and it hardly ever dips. It's just like it's very, very, very solid performing.
By no means is it just something you shrug at where it's like, well, it's just a fighting game, so you're not doing as much there. It's like, no, those character models are gorgeous.
I think it's a better crafted fighting game than Street Fighter, which is the most famous fighting game of all time. I think there's way more nuances going on in Guilty Gear that keeps it performing better than like because
I love that's the anime type of art style that I love, honestly.
Then you should watch the 4.5 hour story mode.
4.5 hours, and that's only one movie, Jeff. You go back to the other games. There's
and it's not in English, so you have to read. Great.
So you miss all the visuals because you're reading. That sounds great.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Tales just has a lot of variety with the environments too, because you're literally going across the continent to all the different areas that have been actually like cut off from one another. So it's like the first time that your crew, or I guess in the beginning your crew is 2 people, but you're going to these other areas and exploring and seeing these new areas they've never seen before, because it's just desert and rocks in that first area, and then you go to a snow area and so on and so forth. So.
Well, you got to take into account the cutscenes, which look fantastic.
Yes,
they really do. I'm gonna suggest something bold. Sorry if this hurts feelings. I feel like Deathloop probably should scoot down a number of spots, like maybe under Guilty Gear. I'm not saying it's ugly, but I just don't think it's. I like the style, and they nailed it.
I'm sorry. I think I said no.
I like
Oh,
It
okay.
Takes Two and Tales of Arise. I think both look better than it. And Guilty Gear, I don't have a strong feeling either way. But
No.
Derek, where would you put Tales of Arise compared to Deathloop? Deathloop's above Tales.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
In the visuals, you're not just talking about the game overall.
Yeah,
you're
this
talking
is
about
just
the
visuals.
and like the level design.
No, I like the it's Arcane. I like their style. I like their
Right.
art direction. And this one's a little bit more zany than your Dishonored. Like it's more spacey than Dishonored, which is more an older look. This
Okay.
has still got that same art design.
It's also
but,
a little comic booky too, right? With some of the
yes,
words.
but it's
It's
very
a bit
detailed
Right.
too.
You have to give that. I forgot about
Detailed,
that
I don't know if
piece.
I agree with that.
That I don't think is that detailed. It is detailed, but when you look up close, it's similar to some of the other games we talked about, where it's like, all right, well
Yeah.
they just this is kind of just a blank slate. That's fine, but
Yeah.
the style you have to take that into account here too.
The
Like with the
style is
words
very
as you're reading messages from characters and stuff like that. So there's just some really cool stuff visually and style wise that I have to acknowledge. Yes, that is really really cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's the best looking game. I just think if you ask me if it's better looking than Tales of Arise, yes. But I'm playing Tales of Arise on Series X. If I play it on PC, I might change my tune because it will look better. It will have more things in it, more and I was actually thinking about buying it on PC for that reason. But I played Deathloop on console and PC, and I thought it looked amazing.
Dude, if past Tales games are any indication, just wait. You'll get it for like $12 before you know it.
Yeah.
I know.
Sure.
It's already
This is
like
the
How
one,
can
like,
I get it for that much?
Yeah.
This is one of the quickest, like, declining, like, games in terms of like how much their cost, like, ever,
Right.
I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one's actually winning like a lot of awards, and I think it's
Yeah.
selling well.
I
don't
think it's
This is
sold
it.
the
Like,
most,
you,
yeah.
you guys are like watching like the paradigm shift of this series. Like, it's about to
Yeah.
become like
If
a
the
very
sh-
household name, I think.
If the
Mhm.
shift of this series is going in the kind of more sort of mature direction that this one was, then I'm very happy for that.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It's a very good game. So no, I mean, if people like, if 4 out of the 5 of us say Tails is better looking, I'm not gonna fight over it. I just don't want Deathloop to drop like 8 spots because people don't love it as much as me. It's a good looking game.
It is.
It's got great art direction.
It does.
And
It
the
definitely
level
has
design
style.
is more like, I mean, it's just cool how much crap you can put in one area. It's just one area, right? But it's all the
Yeah.
little stuff you can find within it to advance
Well,
the story.
I mean, there's different. It's kind of like Tales. Like
One area
Tales
pe-
is not
per
an open
advance,
world;
right?
it's open
Open area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so, Deathloop's the same thing. You go to different areas on this
Yeah.
one island or whatever it is, you know, and but you're only in one area. It's not open world.
Spoiler alert: at the very end, it zooms out and you're in a snow globe the whole time. So
Yes,
You actually are in a
That's
snow globe, and
actually
it takes
pretty
two. Just saying.
accurate.
yeah, it's a Coke, it's a Coke
kidding
commercial
me?
at the end. They're drinking Coca-Cola. That's the
Oh,
whole
God.
game.
It's like the
Coca-Cola.
Grinch.
That's corporate right there.
You can't
That-
steal
that-
It Takes Two's gimmick, man. You're literally in a snow globe in that game.
That is as corporate as it gets when you zoom out at the end of a game and you were in a commercial for some product the entire time.
That sounds like
So
Michael
corporate.
Scott.
So
That sounds
corporate.
like Michael Scott when he's trying to make his own commercial and he keeps talking about how it keeps zooming out.
I know. Yeah, I keep zooming out and then there's this and then zoom out. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
you're in the prison and then in the smallest.
Well, first you're on the
sandbox.
beach and you zoom out and you're in the sandbox.
Yeah.
All right. So we haven't talked about these. They're sitting at the bottom. Scarlet Nexus, Artful Escape, Shin Megami Tensei 5. And I feel like it's safe to go ahead and put Guilty Gear Strive in that group of bottom 4, mainly because they either don't have enough of us, of the 5 of us saying, yes, push it up higher, or maybe that's just my gut feeling on them. And I'm not saying this is the right order necessarily, but I feel like these 4 are at the bottom. No?
That's
I
fair.
mean, I haven't played Strive. I've just seen it, and I
Same.
acknowledge that it looks really nice. So it's like,
Right.
so Scarlet Nexus and Guilty Gear more similar in style because it's more like an animated, more like anime as opposed to
I would be
Tales. So
I would be championing Scarlet Nexus as a top 5 if it wasn't for the actual like environments being extremely bland and them repeating the same assets over and over.
Well,
But
Artful
as
Escape
far
does
as-
none of that, so we should go
As
above
far
Scarlet
as
Nexus.
like
Just
art
saying.
direction
Just saying.
and how good the characters look and the animations and all that, to me, Scarlet Nexus is actually one of the best looking games. But like I said, it's the other reasons.
No, the little caveat you threw in there gave me all the ammo I needed to move Artful Escape one above it. So
Oh,
thank you
jeez.
for that. I appreciate it.
God damn.
Derek loves Artful Escape. That's official now.
I did that mostly as a tease though, because we got to decide that together. I know Jeff and I would definitely move it up one. I'm not going to argue that Artful Escape moves above Guilty Gear, but Dan, you've played both Artful Escape and Scarlet Nexus, and I think Kyle, you've played at least Artful Escape.
I played Scarlet Nexus too.
Okay, what do you two think about the order of these two? Because they're both good-looking games in their own right, very different. Which one would you rank above the other between these two?
I'd still say the Artful Escape. I'm more moved by the visuals in that game. Like if we're talking, it's a feeling, so I can't quantify it, but like I'm more moved when I watch like the Artful Escape.
It is quantifiable.
It's quantifiable. On a radar of love. Tars.
Yeah, Tars. Get me out of this wormhole.
Get me out of this conversation, Tars. The Artful Escape though for sure over Scarlet Nexus for me at least.
Dan, you have Scarlet Nexus above it, or Artful Escape
I would say I would pick Scarlet Nexus. It's just more my style, I guess. So
yeah, I'm going Scarlet. I mean,
yeah, well, I'd have to go Artful Escape, although I do acknowledge that Scarlet Nexus looks really good. I just think Artful Escape looks better.
Because Scarlet Nexus was on Game Pass, so I played it, and I mean, obviously, I'm partial to anime because I'm an expert on it. I have to go with Artful Escape just because things we've already touched on with it.
Well, then what about these? What about Shin Megami Tensei 5 versus Scarlet Nexus?
I think Scarlet Nexus looks better than Shin Megami Tensei.
Okay, all right. I think that's kind of. I was just looking to you for that one, really. Okay. All right, and then as we get up closer to the top, these three right here, I don't have a super strong opinion on the order of them. I personally feel like they belong below the top three, which I think a few of you might bump one of them up above one of these, and that's fine. Yeah. That's just, I feel like these three belong right here in the middle-ish, and the order isn't that important to me. I think they're so different. Like, I
mean, I feel like It Takes Two should be above Psychonauts 2, but I don't know.
I think It Takes Two should be above Psychonauts.
Okay, let's move all these down.
No, I didn't play them, but I just looked at pictures of both games, and I watched the video of Psychonauts 2. But actually, I did play Psychonauts 2. But It Takes Two looks better. That's the one I haven't played.
Okay, Kyle, what do you think?
Gosh, that's hard.
It is difficult because I feel like It Takes Two and Psychonauts are doing very similar things.
Yeah, I think so too. But at the same time, like they're so different.
Yeah.
God, I don't know. I'd be fine with It Takes Two over Psychonauts 2, but like I don't know. I think some of the ideas in Psychonauts 2 may be better, like in terms of visual ideas, visualizing like words and feelings and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think they both strike incredibly creative tones. They both do a great job at it. They both take you to this combination of real life and dreamlike environments. Like it's just, they both do a great job of both those things. And I think It Takes Two, this is weird because we're talking about the animated stylized one, but some of the visuals are a little more impressive because of how realistic some elements look, whether you're like in this giant woodshed or climbing a tree or whatever, which is funny because we're not talking about realistic graphics here, but they blended, I think, the animated and realistic in some brilliant ways. So I like It Takes Two right above it, even if on my personal list, if you would ask me to rank them, I'd have Psychonauts 2 above it. But that's probably also, Derek made a good point earlier where it's like, yeah, but I like Psychonauts 2 better as a game. Like I preferred that game over It Takes Two. That's hard for me to shake.
Actually, I think I do too. I think when I finished Psychonauts 2, I was like, well, that story was really amazing. Like certain aspects of it, I just weighed more and appreciated more than It Takes Two.
It's hard for me to separate those because I just enjoyed the game, and I'm enjoying It Takes Two. By the way, I think it's a blast. Anyway. But then we have to deal with Deathloop and Tales of Arise. Do those go above both of these and between them? Do they stay below them? And I'm open to you guys' thoughts on Deathloop and Tales of Arise with It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2. Also, am I being silly assuming that Kena and Ratchet go above all four of these?
I think the top two are definitely where they belong. I think the next two are fine where they are because they are doing something different. So even though Psychonauts 2 is not my style, or like James likes to say, my cup of tea. God, if I have to
You
read
mean
that one more
it's
damn
good,
time.
but it's not good. It's
We love you, James.
But I would
James, you're the
say, I think the real debate comes down to Deathloop and Tales of Arise. I
Okay.
think they're going to be behind It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2. It's just whether you guys want to move Tales of Arise above Deathloop.
I would personally.
Okay, that's one vote.
I'd put Tails above Deathloop.
See,
Anybody else?
I was willing to fight for
yeah,
Death.
Tales above Deathloop all day for me, man.
I was
That's
willing
two
to
votes.
fight for I was willing to fight for Deathloop and Tails being above those two, but apparently
Well,
Derek
what about
has given up.
well, what
but,
about between these two? Before we get to that, what about between Tails and Deathloop?
I mean Tails for sure.
All right,
But
so
I
we
agree
don't
with
even have
Derek.
to
Deathloop is not
pick-
ugly by any means.
Oh, hang on a second, because you just said Tails for sure above Deathloop. So why would you be adamant to put? I understand you would put Tails above all of them. I get that. So you'd put it above It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2. But would you really put Deathloop above It Takes Two and Psychonauts 2, or have you just not played those?
No, I've played them both.
Oh,
I just think the style that they're going for and what they're doing, is just
Not your cup of tea.
it's just done. No, it is. It's done. I think they do it better than what's going on with Psychonauts 2 and It Takes Two. Not saying that they're doing a bad job.
I
I'm
hear
just
you.
saying,
Yeah.
I just think the quality of the
it's fine if you like
visuals.
lying to yourself. Sometimes the best of us do it.
That's honestly, yes, that is actually very true, but that's not what's happening here. So shut up, Jeff.
We're changing the name of our podcast to Aggressive Passive Aggressive. That's the name of our
Yeah,
podcast.
I love it. I love it.
I think Tails and Deathloop are just to me they're better looking games than It Takes Two and Psychonauts, but they're two different kind of things going on. It Takes Two and Psychonauts, you would almost sort of be like, oh, it's like a Tim Burton sort of Pixar, like that kind of realm.
Yeah.
And Tails and Deathloop are just not that. So
Mm-hmm. So that does come down to some personal preference there too.
Sure.
So basically, and this is the reason why I conceded, it's just me and Daniel that would put Tails and Deathloop ahead of the other two. So I'm fine with those two being above Tails and Deathloop. And then everybody's already said Tails needs to be above Deathloop.
I did hear Kyle say at one point, at least, Tails all day. So Kyle, Psychonauts 2, It Takes Two, Tails.
I mean, that order looks fine to me.
Okay. But would you personally keep Tails below these two?
I mean, yeah, I would.
Okay. All right. Because I know you're a fan of the way Tails looks.
I am. I think Tails looks amazing. Yeah.
So.
I think It Takes Two and Psychonauts, they had to think a little more to get those, visuals.
I am a fan of the way that Tales of Arise looks as well. I think.
Have you guys seen the cliffs in Tails? I just want to point that out. The cliffs. Have you seen the cliffs?
They look like cliffs, Dan. I took it as far as I could. Okay, I took it as far as I could.
No, they don't look just. They don't just look.
No,
like
they
cliffs.
look amazing. No,
they look like cliffs that were drawn. We got it.
In
All
fact,
right,
yeah,
so
I know a lot of the backgrounds in this game are like set or whatever, but it actually makes the game look a lot better.
I know
it's like pre-rendered backgrounds.
It sounds so mundane, but I'm telling you, when I first played that demo and I saw the cliffs is just such a stupid thing to latch onto, but there's just something about the actual environment. It's like, what the hell was I playing? Or you know what? Have you guys been seeing the trailers for the Pokemon Legends Arceus?
Yeah.
And just how
No, I'm not a 12-year-old.
How bland.
I was gonna say how
bland the ground. The ground just looks like what? Like a GameCube game? Like
never gonna make it to Neverland with that thought.
Yeah, it's but it looks like a GameCube game, right? There's no life in the environment.
It's a pretty empty looking game, man.
Yeah, and it's like when I played Tails, it just like it.
Well, people latched on to what the bark looked like on trees really hard on Halo. When the first Halo came out, they're like, if you look at the tree, so like I know what you mean by the cliffs. Like, when you look at something mundane, but you're like, wow, no one's ever done this before.
They literally took the time to put that much detail to it, and it looks really nice.
Yeah,
so. I will say this.
Can we just call this episode The Cliff?
I will. We can.
I certainly want to jump off of
right now.
that.
Yeah, Jeff. Boom.
Aggressive, passive aggressive cliffs.
God damn it.
I am a fan of the Tales of Arise game and the way it looks, the way it plays, all of it. I do think it's got some shortcomings in the environments and visuals. in my opinion,
You haven't made it all the way though. That's the thing. That's what she said.
Ooh,
Yeah, you have to play at least 100 more hours.
And
Tim.
especially
That's fair.
especially after
3,000 hours
tonight,
in this
Tim,
game.
you're definitely not going all the way.
Yeah, it's a lonely evening. But the what I was gonna say was, for example, in that second area of Tales where it's real snowy,
Sure.
I actually found, and I count this as part of the visual experience, but my experience of walking through some of those areas to get to that village and then the area that followed
yeah.
that, I actually found that to be a little underwhelming, both in terms of the game design, but like in terms of like the area design, like how it was mapped out, but also visually it was a little. So I'm not saying it's ugly by any stretch, but it does not make me pause and go,
Well,
because I played that game for about 10 hours and I don't think I took any screenshots, and that's not a objective measurement. I'm just saying for me personally, it didn't make me go, holy
What
crap,
did you
that's
play
amazing.
it on? Just curious.
The Series X. No,
Well,
the One
Played it
X.
on mobile.
One X.
So you were probably playing it. Yeah. Okay. You're
well,
playing it.
and also the snowy
medium
level.
setting.
The snowy level is the level right before what they had in the demo. And that's the first environment that really like just kind of like I was
I get
like,
it.
Spoilers, guys.
I totally get it, but for the same reason that we didn't even put Death's Door on this list at all, you have to experience the entire thing to see like how varied and incredible the visuals get. So I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just saying, some games,
Take
even if
the
you only
L,
play a little bit.
Dan, take the L. Let's go
Oh,
with Kenya and Ratchet.
Listen, I'll talk about cliffs all day. If
I know.
make up your mind. Just make
I'm
up your mind.
literally
Just
with
do it.
Jeff. Let's just
I
talk
think
about the cliff.
I think that
Can you draw? Yeah, draw one real quick so I can just hop off that thing real quick.
Tales of Cliffs. Like, let's get the freak out of here.
I do think objectively, Ratchet and Clank is the best looking game, maybe in both visual categories of the
I
year.
think so.
So I personally
close.
like the way I'm just gonna say Bridge of Spirits since nobody likes Kenya. I like that.
We
the
like
way...
Kenya, the nation. We just don't like that you keep calling this game Kenya.
Thank you for clarifying that, Tim.
Kenya's doing some good stuff.
We like the country.
Nobody likes
Don't let him
Kenya.
get away with saying stuff like that.
Well, I really liked Ethiopia Bridge of Spirits.
But
Congo, Bridge
I
of
think
Spirits
Bridge
was
of
great.
Spirits has, like, for me, it's all about the location. I like the visual locations. Like, I love the waterfalls. I love the forest. I love the nature. But I would say this is one that, even though we have a lot of subjective opinions with all these visual things, like as far as what art styles you like more than others, I personally think Ratchet and Clank objectively is like one of the best looking games ever. Like,
I think so
it's
too.
just, it does what Bridge of Spirits is trying to do, but it does it better. Now, granted, it has a bigger budget, it has more people working on it, but that's not what this awards about. Yeah, this game, Ratchet and Clank, to me is the best looking game, and I played them back to back. So I beat Ratchet. I played, a lot of. I played a lot of whatever that dumb game is that Sasan likes. That's stupid. Retardinal. And then I went right into Kenya, and I thought Kenya.
You went to Kenya?
Are you having a stroke? For the love of God, say words. Say words properly. God damn it.
When it like Ratchet and Clank zooms in on Ratchet and like you see his fur, I don't know if there's anything on Earth that looks better than that.
Right.
I don't know.
I think Gaston is having is
when you
creaming his pants right
upskirt
now.
Ratchet and the way his fur looks.
When you actually look deep beyond his little shorts, it's a sight to behold.
That'd be amazing if we actually had Gaston like on hold. Like, let's go to our fur expert real quick. Gaston,
he's in the middle of a storm. He's like, oh guys,
he's just surrounded by fur. He's got fur everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a fur tornado.
Gaston,
this is
we
more
love
like
a furnado.
Yeah, I do think Ratchet and Clank is one of the best achievements visually in a game I've ever seen, which is ironic because I kind of lost interest in the actual gameplay that game had to offer for me at the time. And I feel like if I'm in the right mode, in the right moment, I'll play it and it'll like, yes, this is a blast. I want to play this. And I just haven't been in that third person kind of lighthearted mode.
Apparently I was, because I beat that and then Kenya back to back.
But visually, it's hard for me to put anything above it.
You don't
good.
beat
I agree.
Kenya. That's racist.
Come to Kenya.
I'm not changing, Daniel. Kenya.
Well, obviously.
Dan,
It's
between
dumb.
these two, what do you think has the better visual?
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, the cliffs in Ratchet. and
Hold on,
Clank.
hold on.
There are
I
actually a
was
lot
gonna
of
say,
cliffs in
tell me
Ratchet
about
and
the-
Clank. You can
Tell me
jump
about
off
the
of the
cliffs on
which
both
is great.
games. Tell me about the cliffs in both games. All right.
All right, let's break down the cliffs.
No, I can't.
Just do
Just
it.
pick one,
Ratchet,
damn
You
it.
know,
Ra-
on
Rank.
Ratchet, you can't climb cliffs, but on
All right,
Kena,
so
you
That's
can.
very
Canaan it
true.
is.
Yeah.
All
Kena.
right.
It is. Went down to Canaan.
I love the facial expressions in Kena. I think they did a great job with that, especially in the cut scenes as it zooms into the different characters and things they're having. They did a good job with that. I think they could do better in a sequel, but I think they did a good job in general with
I
all
think
of that.
I have a movie comparison. I feel like Kana is a Disney animated movie, and Ratchet is a Pixar movie.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a very astute
Because
observation.
Kana has like a Disney type of vibe and facial expressions, like very cartoony, and Ratchet is like, I mean, it's still cartoony, but it's just like it feels like a Pixar budget was thrown behind it, where
Yeah.
everything just looks so freaking smooth no matter what you do in the game.
Very rarely do I agree with Jeff, but I think that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I think so too.
And I prefer.
I'm clipping
Disney-
this out of YouTube.
I prefer Disney animations and
As a
design
ringtone?
and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think when I played Kena, Kyle, you used the word moved earlier, and I feel like Kena has that element to it for me
Mhm.
visually, because like Derek said, the environments, and not only the way the environments look, but also there's something about the way that they animated cleansing that corruption out of it's everything about it.
So satisfying.
It really
Yeah,
was.
I agree.
Yeah, that
I'm
was
like, I'm gonna
really
shoot
cool.
this real quick. Oh yeah.
A bunch
Oh,
of
and
pimples bursting all at once. So satisfying.
And the rot design, those little creatures are super cute. Even though they're very basic, like they only use like what 3 shades of color to create those things, and yet they're still
No, but they're so lively. you
Tons
know.
of
Yeah, but
personality.
the hats.
Because that's
too.
another
The
thing. Like
hats,
when you
dude.
zoom in
The
on
hats.
them, you're like, oh,
It's all
there's some
about the
texture
hats.
going onto them. Yeah.
It's all about the hats. And then of course the creature and monster design is great. Like that scene when there's a character who's trying to walk towards you, and then the monster kind of out of the ground and engulfs it, and it becomes the
Right.
monster. Like that was not only visually impressive, but like the design of that monster and the way that it had like the lantern hanging from its neck, and that becomes like part of the fight. Boy, that
Yeah.
stuff was really cool. I
That
really liked
developer did a lot with what I think is very little physical resources, like
Right.
15 employees or whatever.
Yeah, and like
They
I think
did a
they
really good
also had
job.
a $500 million budget like Halo.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah, they totally.
So
With stock
really,
options.
we can't pick Kana in good conscience because it's too corporate and cash grab.
It's too corporate. That's right. All right. Well, I feel like we've kind of landed on these 10. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, and because
Can we beat a dead cliff or?
Yeah, I was
we
gonna say,
could.
We
Hey,
did.
beat
No,
that
we
horse and
did.
throw it over a
It
cliff.
happened.
We
Yes.
definitely did.
All right.
By we, I mean Daniel.
Whatever.
So
You guys are racist against cliffs. So.
I am. I'm
I
calling.
mean,
this,
I'm booting up Tales of Rides right now just to stare at the cliffs.
I am calling
I
this
appreciate it.
conversation time of death 10:03 p.m. Mountain Time. Um,
Cliff
Shin
time.
Megami Tensei 5 is at number 10, followed by Scarlet Nexus at 9, Artful Escape at 8, Guilty Gear Strive at 7, Deathloop at 6, Tales of Arise at 5, Psychonauts 2 at 4, It Takes Two at 3, Kena Bridge of Spirits at 2, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart number 1. Real quick, your personal picks, just your personal top pick for animated and then realistic game. Kyle, what's your personal favorite, regardless of what we think? Your personal. Go.
My personal favorite for this category was Ratchet and Clank, and then my personal for the other category. Why am I drawing a blank on everything that came out suddenly now that I'm on the spot? What was
I
our
am
number
too.
one? What did we pick?
Oh, it's
Forza.
Forza. It's got to be Forza.
Forza. Yeah, it's Forza. Yeah, that doesn't change.
Dan, what about you?
I'd probably go Resident Evil and then Tales.
And Jeff?
Predictable as ever. I love it. As the resident, again, and I'm expert.
God damn it.
I think the ones that we settled on for top the best are my favorites, Ratchet
Yeah.
and Forza.
I agree. I think for me, it's when I rank them quote unquote objectively with what I think are the actual best, I landed on Ratchet and Forza. When I landed on the ones, if I just kind of went based on like, if I just went with my heart, the ones that I enjoyed the most were Kena and Guardians of the Galaxy, just because of my personal preferences of what I like to look at. But I still think Forza objectively best looking on the one and Ratchet on the other. Derek, what about you?
I'm gonna go Forza and then Kenya.
You just wanted to
damn
say
it.
Kenya.
Stupid.
Yeah, I don't even think he believes that.
All right, guys, what are some of your, if you have any, favorite essentially non-console games, like stuff that wasn't on the major consoles? Maybe it's even something from an old console, whatever. Maybe you bought yourself a Neo Geo. Okay, I'm not here to judge you. But for me,
Yeah,
I'll
you
go.
are.
For
Why
me,
would
I'll
you? Neo
go.
Geos are cool.
I'll go best PC games, and for me, I'll just give you my top 5 real quick. Count down
Oh,
from
you played
5.
5. Wow, I only have 3.
So I had Timberborn at 5, where
You
you
made that
are.
up. You made that
I
up.
am not. You are controlling a colony of beavers building up your town.
Oh yeah, that game.
Oh my
I
gosh.
forgot about that one.
Yep. It's all about controlling water. That game is actually pretty fun and creative. The way you can stack houses. I mean, they're beavers. They're adorable.
Yeah.
All right, and then number
Sure.
4,
That
I
better
actually
than
did.
$5 on Steam. I'm just saying.
I did end up buying. Actually, Timberborn is like 25. It's a little overpriced, but I did end up buying this on Epic Games during their sale. Dude, when they do the Epic coupons, it's hard to say no to that because $10 off everything in addition to their sales is amazing. But I did end up buying Inscription after playing the demo, and I played a little more of that. And so that's
Oh,
number
cool.
4. I think Inscription is super clever. And once Jeff told me last week that there's actually some story to that outside of the clever little host of the card game, I was really interested to see that play out. So that was
Yeah,
number
it
4.
has like 3 acts apparently. It's got a full-fledged story. It's just piecing it together is like the hard part, I think.
And then Age of Empires 4 was number 3. That game's an absolute blast. If you like strategy games, it's one of them. No, it's a really, really good one. Highly recommend it.
It's very good.
It is
Very-
a strategy game, so there you go.
It's fantastic. And then Game Deck was number 2. That was a surprise one for me.
Wow.
I got on sale.
You like that a lot, damn.
I really enjoyed it. So kind of at cyberpunk point and click narrative detective adventure. I thought it was fantastic. I kind of want to play it again because there's so many branches. But I've talked about this before. If a game has choices, I kind of like that being my experience. Like that's the choices I made. That's the story that this was
Right.
for me.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe I will
I'm the
go
same
back
way.
to something. And number 1, it's Valheim. So it's
Obviously.
not.
The right answer. The correct
That's
That
answer.
is
my-
the correct answer.
Anybody
Yes.
else? And if you don't have any picks for any, that's totally fine. But anything PC, mobile, or whatever.
I mean, I barely play PC because I have a like 4-year-old, 5-year-old laptop, but Valheim, obviously. And I actually had checked out I think it was beta or early access or whatever you want to call it for Rogue Legacy 2. I didn't play I didn't play too much of it. So from what I had remembered of the first one, it felt like a lot of the same. But I mean, that first one is a pretty awesome game. So
One of my favorite roguelikes ever.
yeah. So it's got
I love
it's got the fun upgrades where you're kind of building up that structure and it like branches off in different directions and you kind of unlock new classes and sort of like buffs and things like that. So that's really cool. But then there's also like this dock that has all these little shops that you can do extra stuff in that I don't think they had in the first one. So yeah, I mean, it's really fun. If you like the first one, I don't see anybody not liking that second one. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have number 3. I have Inscription. Even in just the demo, it had like one of those gameplay loops where you're like, okay, I'll just do one more.
Yeah.
It's just the game itself is actually really fun, and the way that they introduce new card ideas or modifiers for each card. I don't know. It just felt very satisfying and really well done in the short time that I played it. Then my number 2 is Before Your Eyes because I'm a little baby and I love games that have a story that make you emotional. And I've brought that game up before. I love that game. Eric is a piece of garbage.
I was gonna say, please describe in lengthy detail to Derek about this game.
What were the exact feelings that you?
Yeah.
felt?
Please.
Let me
and
trauma
address
dump,
Derek
as
directly.
the Gen Zers say, to Derek real quick about this game. No,
They are there.
I don't know if I've
Sure.
talked about it to you, Derek. You'll never play this game in your life, so you can not worry about what I'm about to tell you. But yeah, this is a game that you have to use your webcam for, and you blink to move the story along. It's actually pretty clever.
Wow.
Anyway, Valheim is my number 1, and
So
Derek
awesome.
is trash.
Valheim is amazing. I'm back into Valheim now, by the way, too. They're getting ready to release some more content here.
Yeah,
Next
let's
couple months.
let's get our shit together and start
do it.
constructing.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll get on that too.
New construction.
You know, Derek, when your screen kind of goes darker, it looks like you're on one of those news shows, but they can't show your face because you're a witness to something.
And his voice is like robotic and like or demonic. Yeah.
I was actually on the Epic Store.
Oh, see, there it goes. Oh.
I was actually on the Epic Store.
Derek or Kyle, any PC or other games? Or no?
Promotion of the best.
Absolutely not. No.
Derek, anything that's
Just a lot of Kenya.
God damn it.
so much Kenya.
We don't need to know about your Google searches, all right? Stop looking up.
You said the word PC about 1,000 times this episode, and then when it's actually the segment's time, you have nothing to say.
No, I gave it a
You're
whole
killing me,
segment.
He
and
just
he
plays
won't-
console
You're
games. on
killing
PC.
me. So you're killing me.
Kyle, I'm unpredictable. You don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you're something. You're something, all right.
PC
All right, guys.
Master Race, but I don't even have a PC game that I even like.
We're gonna close things out with a top 5 best Xbox console exclusive.
Lawn mowing simulator.
It's number 1 for me.
Let's just do it.
Um,
Let's just do it.
Number 1. I could be wrong on some of these. They might not be exclusive anymore. I had to take off. There was something that.
Did
like
Flight
the-
Simulator come out this year?
No,
No,
on
it's a
console,
console,
yes,
but-
maybe, but not on PC.
Okay.
It came out last year officially.
It was on
Okay.
PC summer of 2020, and then
Then
I
it
think
came out.
I think it did hit this year on console. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. I just didn't know.
So we could
if
count that
it should
one.
be on-
We can count that if we want. We talked about it a lot last year. That's okay. We can include it. But anyway, stuff like the Medium was a pretty big Xbox exclusive for a minute there, but then it hit PlayStation
Yeah.
this
And
past.
Yeah,
the
if it's
Ascent
not
is
in at
about
the end of the
to-
year, it doesn't count.
The
So-
Ascent is about to hit PS4 this year, but you
Yeah,
know,
last
hey,
year was considered.
The calendar
Last
is in
year?
charge. Okay,
Yeah.
we're not in charge. The calendar is in charge.
So
All right, so
glad
let's-
Sable's on this list.
Let's move.
it's
so-
eligible. Okay, Derek.
I
Jeez.
was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. The
The
Ascent.
I think
Ascent.
the Ascent has to come over here.
All right, so I moved over Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, Artful Escape, The Ascent.
The
Anything
Song
else?
of Iron.
That's the Viking one that looked cool, but then didn't end up
It
reviewing
was
too well. I never
pretty
played it.
disappointing.
I mean, out of all these, I would say Echo Generation, but that would be absolutely at the bottom.
Yeah,
No,
I would.
just in
I
case.
guess because
I'm moving this
normally
one over. I
I
don't
champion
care.
a game like. Oh
I
my
don't
God.
care. I don't
Normally, I
care.
champion a game like Sable, but there's nothing to do in that game. There's
Sure.
Yeah.
there's not a lot going on.
Sure.
So
They also had
so
stuff like-
good. I played it. It was
shut your
so good.
mouth. Shut your.
They had
dirty-
stuff like Lake, Moon Globe, Space Jam. I didn't realize these were console exclusives until I started doing some Googling
Yeah.
and realized, oh, these only came to Xbox and PC. I didn't.
Moonglow Bay has a similar style to Echo Generation, but
It does.
Echo Generation for me just I played that one and I didn't play Moonglow.
Yeah.
But just the Stranger Thing vibes mixed with sort of like Earthbound is interesting. So
Yeah, with some of that Minecraft slash. Do you ever play that game, The Tourist? It has visuals kind of like The
Yes.
Tourist.
right,
Tourist
yeah.
is dope.
Oh, Song of Iron was the game that looked cool.
It looked
It
cool,
did.
but
It's
very
a,
cool.
it's a
It is not it is
71
not a good game.
on Metascore.
I never played it.
They're
so I
wrong.
don't know.
It plays
Crazy.
terribly. I'm not gonna lie.
Metascore is 71. The user score is 30 or 3.8. That's
Yeah,
Oh.
that's right.
That's
That's,
correct.
right.
Sounds like some developer paid some reviewers, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right,
Corporate.
yes.
Corporate game.
Corporate game.
Got it.
Corporate chills.
So we've got 6 games over here. This will be funny to see what ends up on here. I've moved over Lawn Mowing Simulator too because I got to be honest, I put in way too much time on that stupid game. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like when you stumble upon some mobile game that for some reason every time you're at a waiting office or taking the long dump or whatever it is, you just fire up that dumb mobile game. It has that vibe to it. I had no reason to play it other than like I just want to put on a podcast or a TV show in the background and I'm just making my rows with my upgraded mower. I don't know what I'm doing.
I'd rather
And-
play Unpacking
not
again
really.
than play that game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you
Um,
unpack all the stuff in your house and then you go outside and mow your lawn with
Yeah.
lawn
Yeah,
mowers.
can
Yeah.
they combine? Can they combine forces?
Yeah.
You guys are so boring. I just
Just as people.
Yeah.
I will say that Lake is very much a Derek game. He'll love that game.
Yes.
I was gonna say it might be the most Derek game on this list. You're
Yeah.
a woman driving a mail truck in a small town, chatting with people. That's the whole game.
That's literally all you do is chat with people while delivering mail. That's
Yeah.
Oh,
There's no
wow.
supernatural aspect. Or
I mean,
anything.
No. In fact,
The only way
you're,
it could be
you're like a-
better. The only way it could be better is if she's passive aggressive. That's the only way.
Oh my
it can
gosh.
be
She's
better.
actually a total doormat. So
Yeah.
Even better.
People just unload on her constantly, and like you're just supposed to be like, yeah, this is a video game. I don't.
it's
Uh,
the same
right,
game
so
in not real
while-
life somehow.
While this conversation dove off the rails, I went ahead and narrowed it to 5 for us,
That's fair.
and moved
Tim,
it over. so
the
we
way
can
you
like-
had it before you sorted it actually, I think, was exactly what it should be.
Okay, well, we might get there. I think you
Yeah.
might be right.
He did it on purpose.
I wanted-
He's
I kinda
trying to
wanted-
make this
just
like
because
suspenseful.
No, just because. Oh yeah, I do that. But just because this file is going to sit in my Google Drive in perpetuity, I want to
Sure.
always see that lawn mowing simulator was selected.
Right. No, absolutely.
And you're the
Um,
one that did it.
and
I
I'm the
don't
one that
want you
selected
to have like some type of.
I
brain
really
disease that, like,
tried my
gets that.
damnedest to get.
I was
that
gonna
game
say
through.
honorable
There you go.
mention. Tim's. You could do honorable mention.
There you go.
All right, so lawn mowing simulator. Someone made that video game. Okay.
Yeah.
It
It's a
doesn't
thing.
even try to have like some subtle story like something like unpacking. It doesn't. It's just like you want to name your lawn
Yeah.
business. You want to okay. You want to mow some lawns.
You want to upgrade your mower?
You want to buy a faster weed eater. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, Echo Generations is a pretty cool looking game. Actually.
Yeah.
It
I
is.
mean,
It
I
is.
wouldn't like it, but it looks.
Yeah.
I will
no,
tell you this.
You wouldn't.
It didn't play well enough for me to want to keep playing it, but boy, did it look cool.
It
Yeah.
was legitimately a broken game. Like
Yes.
essentially, I got to a certain point in the story where I needed to buy a certain item, but there wasn't random
right.
battles.
I remember you
So,
telling
like,
me this.
I ran out of. I didn't have the amount of money I needed to buy that item, so I literally had
That's
to wait
just
for them
super
to
poor
update.
game design.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I had to literally wait for them to update.
Number
it so
5,
they-
guys. We're putting that ahead of Lawnmower.
Really,
simulators.
really bummed that
We're gonna put
there
a
were no clips
broken
we could
game
jump off of
forward.
now.
Yeah.
All
Hey,
right,
it's
so
fixed
broken
now. It's
broken
fixed
game
now.
is going at the bottom here.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's probably the order right there.
Yeah. you just did
Anyway,
it right
we've
there.
got we've got Echo Generation sitting in fifth. We're just in the top 5. There's not enough games. Echo Generation is sitting at 5. The Ascent. So if those of you are listening, you don't know what we're talking about when we say The Ascent. It's a isometric action shooter game. It's got a lot of RPG elements to it as well.
Mhm.
Apparently, a lot of.
really wanted to like it.
And I never really got into it enough. Like it didn't hook me to keep me
Yeah.
going.
I wish it hooked me. I feel like if I played it more, I'd put it above Artful Escape.
The visuals are cool. The gameplay seemed pretty fun. We
Mhm.
talked about this before, how they had this cool like aim high mechanic if you hold in the left trigger. So Ascent is cool. I just thought the Artful Escape, which to me is sitting at number 3, it's an experience. It literally is a music experience, a music and visual experience. You don't gameplay wise, you can't really lose. I don't think there might be some areas where they make you restart, but you don't really lose. It's like you hit any button you want, almost in any order you want, as you just run.
Yeah.
And then
There's some Simon Says aspects, but you can just start a section over if you mess it up.
I don't think there's.
They
it's
don't
not
kill you or
punishing.
something.
Yeah. It's meant to be just like this very cool music experience.
Yeah.
I loved it for that. So
I did too.
but to me, those are the bottom 3, and then we have a top 2 between Forza and Halo Infinite.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I am gonna start by saying that while I love Forza Horizon 5, 4 was better to me, and Infinite is the best Halo ever.
Okay.
And I just think it deserves the top spot, although I know it will not get it with this group of people
It's because you're wrong.
who I
'Cause you're
do
wrong.
not
It's okay, though.
respect.
Who I do not respect.
Likewise.
Tell us how you feel.
So I just want to put it out there that Halo Infinite, in a very passive aggressive way, should be number,
I was just
number 1.
aggressive. That was just straight up aggressive.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was gonna
aggressive.
say you literally told us don't respect us.
Yeah. There was a lot of face value stuff.
You
going on in that
guys should
monologue.
totally try to date me. It's
And
Listen,
I'm
uh,
all set. I'm all set.
Halo Infinite absolutely nailed it with the multiplayer. I think their campaign was, even though it's their first sort of open world experience, it still had a pretty I thought, a tight linear story
Yep.
that allowed you to kind of veer off and explore if you really wanted to, but you didn't have to. So I thought that was great, and I thought it really challenged me. Like, it wasn't easy either. I liked that.
Like, I actually liked that it didn't have too much stuff to do.
Yeah, same here.
I actually
same.
ended up doing everything you could do, except like
Yeah.
you know how you could go find the little collectibles and stuff. I didn't do that.
Oh,
But
me
like
too.
as
Scrolls
far
at
as
the time.
but like as far as like beating all the bosses, beating all the like setting your troops free, doing all those things, the camps, all that stuff, I did everything. Anything that I could do, I did.
Yeah,
But
same here.
and I like that it wasn't overwhelming like a Far Cry game or something like that, or a Ubisoft game where it's like
Yeah,
you
not
have
even close.
87 things in just a little area.
Well, and they
This
do have
is,
some
like,
stuff you
spread
can
out
go
everywhere.
find that's not on your map. So there's some things that are even extra tough to find. These skulls.
Yes, just from exploring. Plus, and we talked about it when the game launched. This is honestly, besides Guardians of the Galaxy, this was the game that I probably laughed at the most. Like, I had the most fun just listening to the banter. Even the part where I made fun of where the weapon becomes like a passive aggressive girlfriend. I was like, are you freaking serious? I can't get away from these women and their passive aggressive whining behaviors. But like the entire game, just for me, was the complete package was amazing. I even enjoyed the multiplayer, which I don't really care about multiplayer anymore in games.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the most complete game in every area. But again, that's not taking anything away from Horizon 5. I love that game. And I know for a lot of you guys, and this is why I think you're going to pick it, is most of you didn't play 4, 3, 2,
No,
and
I
we
think
did.
all of us played 4, actually.
no,
So-
you're all
So
good.
we-
is just
You're all
better.
good.
So we
Five
talked
is
about this
better
a
in,
little
like,
bit, and
every
I
way possible. So
we talked about this a little bit, and I understand what you're saying. That you're like, hey, they've been doing this for a while. Yeah, but you could also make the argument that Halo's been doing the Halo thing for a while, but they tweaked the right things in the right way to all of a sudden make a game that was like, boom, they just crushed it this time, and it's just going to hit people in a different way. Forza Horizon 5, for a lot of people, finally something about the environment and the structure of how they put the races and challenges together, and something about
Famous for
it's not though, because I've played a good chunk of 4, and it's
Yeah,
not.
I did too.
and I thought the map was just like pales in
yeah, but
comparison to this
for
map.
me, this is where I would argue with you guys because you're like, oh, 5 is so much better than 4. I call bullshit on that, but for me, with Halo Infinite, you can't just simply say, well, it's just bigger. You know, there's more stuff to do.
Correct.
The entire gameplay was changed. Nothing in Forza Horizon 5 as far as gameplay was changed compared to 4. Now,
I mean,
true.
they
I
added a grapple
understand
and
that.
that's it. But
I think
you
a
shoot,
grapple
you
hook
shoot.
is big, but
The grapple
that's
hook was
only
great.
real,
I
that's
love
the only
the
really
grapple
big
hook.
change
You're
I
still
can think
shooting
of
for
besides.
grenades. That's the game. That's it's
Well, now you're just simplifying it so you can win with your
No.
Horizon 5 fanboy
I mean, to be
bullshit.
fair, for Forza is driving cars. I mean, that's
I
what it-
understand. That's what I was about ready to say.
Well,
To
right,
be
right,
fair,
right,
you
right.
can't like make the cars do
Listen,
something different.
what-
But my point is it's not just a slingshot. It's everything. You're unlocking abilities. You now have the slingshot that
That's true.
literally
You have more
changes the
abilities.
entire
You're right.
game.
Yeah.
There's
Totally.
some upgradable
They
armor,
changed
like
everything, yet still kept it Halo. That's why I have more respect for Halo Infinite than I do for
I-
Horizon 5.
Do you
What
think that's
comes-
a bit of an overstatement? They didn't change everything. It's pretty much all the same enemies that you've already killed thousands of times before.
Oh, I don't mean
I think-
literal.
Right, but I mean, like in general, you're still the same character. The new abilities are amazing. I love Halo Infinite. It's my favorite of all the Halos.
I might have it higher in my
If
overall
Forza
list than
Horizon-
most of you do. So I still think Forza was better though.
If Forza Horizon 5 weren't so high on my list and it didn't hook me the way that it did, it would have been an easy pick for me for Halo Infinite. I think it's absolutely amazing. But I do
Mhm.
think you're underselling what they did with Forza Horizon 5 this year. I think they improved, just like with sports games, they improve
All right, so
everything
y'all
from the-
sell me on it because I'm not
everything
convinced.
from, just like with a sports game, you're going to improve everything from the physics to just little visual tweaks here and there. Of course, that's going to be part of it. And, new cars and new car selections and how that stuff all works. But there was something about the progression in this version that I think they really fine-tuned the progression. In 4, there was progression, but it wasn't nearly as satisfying. They really hit that right addictive hook of just one more in a way that 4 did, but boy, 5 just nailed it. It was just the right exact pacing that I wanted.
Yeah.
See, to me, the only thing 5 had over 4 was more people were playing 5, especially on my friends list, because, and this is where people in Unlock got triggered because they're too stupid to figure this out. 4 came out on Game Pass, but when it came out, Xbox wasn't as big, and neither was Game Pass.
Yeah,
so Forza Horizon 4 was not as popular as 5. 5 is more popular because there are more people playing Xbox than they ever have, and there's more people that own Game Pass than they ever have. That's why and I know you guys aren't going to completely agree, and that's fine. That's why I believe 5 is getting so hyped where people are like, it needs to be Game of the Year. I'm like, dude, it's good. They improved it, but it's not this drastic change from 4. It's
No,
just
I know a ton of
different
people that
location.
played 4. A ton of people that played 4 because of Game Pass. So I don't.
Yeah,
That's where your
actually
brain
looked up the
logic is going. I
numbers.
can't really understand.
I actually looked up the number. 11 million people played Forza Horizon 4. You know, it's a
Well,
crap ton of people, guys. You know?
But did they play that? Here's my point. Did the 11 million people play it at launch? I'm going to go ahead and say that's a no.
No,
Probably
that's
not.
My
lifetime.
point is
Yeah.
that a lot of people were playing 5 at the exact same time, and one
Yeah,
of the
that's fair.
cool things about it was seeing the names flick up and be like,
Well, and that's
"You're
what I've
20
been trying
boards
to say
away
this
from."
entire time is like, let's just look at our chat. We were talking way more about Forza than because oh my god, I just beat your jump. Hey, I just beat your time. I did this. And like if maybe
is
I killed
actually what I was
maybe
getting
if
at.
I killed a grunt like and it told me, hey, I just killed 10 more grunts than like Dan did or whatever. Like we'd be having a fun conversation right now. But really, Forza was the one that led our chat in terms of like. Like competitive, like even maybe not so much in our group, but like
I mean,
our
you're
personal
making
chat,
my
you know?
point.
You're saying
I
4 did
understand
the
you're
same
not
I've been
thing.
waiting to make this point for a while now, but I was waiting for everybody to get done talking. So
No,
you're saying that 4. You're saying 4 did the same thing, and we missed the wave of it. That's why we
That's
didn't
it.
enjoy it. As much.
It's fine. You can fight me on it. You're not going
I
to
just
change my
don't
mind.
feel like we should diminish 5 just because 4 was good too. I think that's the dumbest thing in the entire world.
Well,
the
that's
dumbest.
not what I'm doing. I'm saying 5 is getting overhyped because more people are playing it. That doesn't make it a bad game. I still think 5 probably is objectively better than 4, but it really should be because it's taking something they've already built and then just making it better. It should be better. But my point is that Halo Infinite is taking Halo franchise that's very, very popular, that has been beaten down because they've made mistakes, especially the last game, and they said, okay, we've got to do something different, and they actually did do something different, and then they knocked it out of the park. Could there be improvements? Sure.
Sure.
But overall, I think objectively, if you were to put both those games up to each other and said which one did things differently, and then of the things that they did differently, did it better or did it good? And it's Halo Infinite. And that's why I think Halo Infinite is a more special game. I still think
It is
5's
special. Game.
great.
I agree.
And I think that's where people are missing the mark and they're going, well, you're just saying 5's not as good because 4 was good. No, I'm saying look at the pattern.
Yeah.
They could have just made Halo Infinite another Halo. They could have made it Halo 6. They didn't because they knew they needed to make it better, and they did. And I think they should get a little bit more praise for that. And I know in the media they have, but I still think in this group, yes, you guys were talking about Horizon 5, but I think you would have talked about Horizon 4 if it came out right now.
But
that's my point.
I agree with that point. But that doesn't make Horizon 5 any lesser of a game. So I understand that I missed the live conversation on Horizon 4, so I didn't maybe get as much out of it as I would have. But that doesn't affect whether or not I think Forza Horizon 5 is as excellent as it is.
And I'm not asking
you said something about changing things and building things. You do realize Forza Horizon 5 was built from the ground up, brand new environment. I mean, did you see all the background videos of how they went to Mexico and captured over 24 hours of
environment
and all that
you're
stuff?
talking about building the game. I'm talking about changing.
But no, I don't want them to change. They've
game.
got the driving down, just like Halo has the shooting down, and I don't need them to add like red shells.
But they did.
I don't need them to add
the way it plays.
I'm saying I don't need Forza to add like red shells or explosive rockets. Like I want
totally
them to
should.
I think
No.
some game modes you can have that actually.
Okay,
So-
maybe
Right.
you can mod it or something.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a little bit in the weeds here, and we're losing really what the main focus is between these two games.
Cliffs.
God damn it! Yes, the cliffs. Obviously, the
Cliffs.
cliffs.
Don't steal his thunder like
they
that.
both
Hey,
have cliffs. Which
if
cliffs
we're
are
going
better?
on
Well, he's a real
cliffs.
son of a bitch. Look at him. Taking
If
my
we're going, if we're going on cliffs, it's got to be Halo Infinite because you can grapple to those cliffs and
Yes.
zing
There you
yourself
go.
around.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
that. I think that's not to diminish that. I think that the grappling hook does change everything about traversal in that game too,
course.
and like
See,
that's
this
a
is the thing.
major,
I
that's a
can't
major like
diminish-
accolade that you have to give that game.
I'm not going to diminish Halo Infinite in order to elevate Forza Horizon 5, and I'm not going
Yeah,
to diminish
but,
Forza
okay,
Horizon
hold on.
4.
Yeah.
I agree that you are all collectively saying both games are good, which is what I'm saying. Y'all are, and this is all it is, it's bias. It's y'all are saying, well, you're diminishing Halo 5 or Forza Horizon 5 because you like Halo more. You guys are diminishing some of the things about Halo because you picked Horizon 5. I'm fine with that. I know y'all are gonna pick Horizon 5. My point is that I think objectively, this is my opinion, Halo Infinite does more, and it is a better product and a better game overall as far as what they were doing, what they were accomplishing, and the goals that they had, and then knocking it out of the park. That's what I meant by building something new. Not, I know when they actually made Horizon 5, I even said it earlier in the recording. I said they didn't just copy and paste 4.
No,
Yes,
they
they
didn't.
have the systems in place,
Yeah.
but they didn't copy and paste like the world. They did it differently. They still
Right.
added more details and all that stuff. So yes, 5 is a great game. It is probably the best one. I personally like 4 better because I like the location better. And I don't see, this is where we vary. I don't see enough
Oh,
difference between the two.
it's a race
4
thing. I get it.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
like the
literal
white-
race thing.
I like the white people over the brown people.
Jeez.
You could have.
But I just think Halo Infinite did
more.
more. That's all I'm
I
saying.
was making a pun about it being a racing game, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know.
It's
For,
the
for,
game.
for me, it's also like about like social impact and like again the game that everyone was talking about. And I'm sorry that people
That
were
helps.
talking about Forza more
Only
than Halo,
white people
but just
were
more
talking
people
about
were talking about Forza. It felt like, you know, and at the time that it came out. Whereas Halo, I think it had its moment. I think it had a really, I think it splashed really big, especially coming out early with online. Everyone getting kind of you know, everyone getting their experience with that before the actual campaign came out. I think they handled their release really well, and I think it had a lot of really good attaboys. But like, man, there was just something about that everyone was talking about with Forza. People were sharing their car creations in the group, you know. People were talking about that game for a few weeks, you know, which in game terms, that's a long time. It seems like these days with our ADD nature in terms
I would
of like
just have to
digesting
ask
games.
you guys this. If Forza Horizon 6 comes out and it's in a different location, and they make subtle improvements, and they make the graphics look a little bit better, more details and stuff like that, would you guys be praising and pushing for Forza Horizon 6? I don't think so. That's where my argument comes in and says, you guys are kind of, yes, you played them before, but you're coming into it now where it's the biggest one because the most people are playing. It is the most social. And I agree with Kyle. This was the one that most people were talking about. And I think, in my opinion, it's because of when it launched and where it launched.
It could be. To answer your question about 6, I mean, it depends. If I play it and
If it comes
hooks
out in
me,
a mediocre year, yeah, it would be.
if I
As
play
highly
it
praised.
and it hooks me and I can't stop playing it because its excellence and its addiction has so many amazing hooks in it because they've designed it that way as a major improvement over the previous game. Listen, 4, and it was an amazing game. If we went back and ranked that year, I'd probably have it on my top 10. I still don't know where.
Yeah.
But it did not have the same addictive quality when I played it, even outside of the social stuff that 5 did. 5 actually had things structured in a way that, I mean, I feel like a rat in a maze. It kept leading me along at the perfect pace that just kept me going. 4 did some of that really well, and some of that I was like, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go next here. Like, it wasn't quite as cleanly structured. Still great, still amazing. Love the setting. 5 just did everything a little bit better. That's all. And I think that's all it is. It's not saying that if
Yeah, I
I
think
had
it's-
played 4 at launch, maybe I would have loved it just as much. Maybe because the social
just
thing might have been a
wanted-
big.
I just wanted to debate. Like, I knew.
Well,
I was
I think
gonna lose.
Derek is coming at it from like a facts over feelings thing too, which like, hey, if you want to do a
Yeah.
side by side comparison chart over what changed more, Halo changed more, sure. But then it goes to like what did you feel more whenever you were playing these games? And I think the excitement of everything, which I'm not here
Damn
to
it,
talk about.
Kyle is a passive aggressive girl. That's what he is.
It's my feelings.
Well, I wouldn't
just
say
saying.
necessarily a girl. He's just a human being.
No,
That's-
shut up. Damn it.
Yeah, I
Freaks.
don't think that changes necessarily make it a better or
better game.
worse
Yeah,
thing.
same here. I think
well,
So-
if they're good
Yeah.
if they're changes that are overall good and like better than what they were doing before, then perhaps those are
Well,
things.
And by
that was
changes-
the point I'm making. It's not just.
and I think
hey, we're
Halo
voting for
does
this game
all the
'cause it
changes
made
it
more
does
changes.
make are make it a better experience. I would say,
Yeah.
you know, just
100% does.
to make sure that that's a clear.
Because if they were bad changes, then that would be a detriment to the game. So then you would take,
Exactly.
you would
Yeah.
take
You're
away.
taking more risk when you make more changes. And again, Horizon 5, the next Horizon, there's only so much you can do. The only major change you can make is location. That's
Correct.
really the only major change you can do. And that's why they're really big on let's build an amazing world, because they know that's what differentiates that one from the other one before it.
Yeah.
They could add different
I
kinds
just
of
hope wherever
vehicles.
we're going next in this world, that more white people are showing us that culture.
God damn it!
I mean, it's
That's
true.
what I
That's
hope.
why I didn't connect with the Horizon 5 story. Is it was too much
Story.
Like
drama.
English
I mean,
people, I
was
like
gonna
all the
say.
all the English people going like, "Wow, the culture here in Mexico is so rich," and it's like you are so white. I can't, I can't take
Dude,
this
I gotta be
seriously.
honest with you. I didn't play that game and think, "Ooh, Mexico," because you could have told me this is set
Yeah.
in Costa Rica, and I'd be like, "Sweet!" Like
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know it didn't. I didn't look at it, and like I could tell it was like Central America, maybe
Mm, yeah.
Northern South America, and it looked
South America,
amazing.
yeah.
It looked fantastic for that.
I
set.
only knew it was Mexico because there was a lot of slug bugs. So
If
I
you
was
would
like,
have
"Ah,
told
okay, here we
me,
go."
if you'd have told me that, hey, if you get out of your car, you actually can keep playing this game as in Far Cry 6, like it's the same. I would be like,
Yeah,
sweet,
it's the
it
same
looks
world,
kind of
yeah.
like Yara. I think that I agree with that.
Basically is.
It's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, listen, this is essentially a draw in my opinion. Although I think guns to our head voting. I know that Kyle, Jeff, and I have it at number 1. Dan, I don't think you've played Halo Infinite yet,
Right. Yeah.
so it's hard for you to vote. And I know
How is
Darren-
this guy on our podcast? Like he deserves to
Because
be
I
released.
actually show up, so you know.
Oh,
dude, your
wow.
your camera's been off for the last 30 minutes.
See,
What are
now
you talking
that's
about?
passive aggressive.
I will say though, I do actually agree with the points that Derek's saying, but that also comes from a place for me like
I'm
racing.
no longer attacking you, Daniel.
Thank you. Racing games is just not like a main genre of mine.
Same.
But like I really did. Again, I played Forza Horizon 4, or my first Forza game, not too long ago. I really enjoyed it. I went into 5, super enjoyed it also. But yeah, I mean, I feel like when I do eventually get to Infinite, I feel like I probably will like it more than Forza, but that's again just genres, you know, going against one another, butting heads, and I think racing would kind of be lower than a shooting game, perhaps. So
Perhaps because you like to kill things because you're violent. No,
yeah,
Why
I'm
is-
incredibly violent.
Why do we have
So-
a talking cactus?
It's a
mean,
mascot.
Don't worry
he
about
said
it.
he made some slight to you about showing up, and yet his camera isn't even on.
Yeah.
So I
His
don't know.
opinions are very thorny.
I mean, is he even really there? Is that
We don't
just his wife talking for him?
It's just
Do you-
it's just
do you-
Actually,
AI.
we created a sophisticated Dan AI that
You
comes
did.
on.
Do you
and-
actually not see me, or
No, we can't see it.
We're
oh,
a cactus.
We haven't been able to
We're
see
a-
for like an hour.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
like that.
that's
like,
super weird because the camera is showing me that it is supposed to be showing me. That's funny.
Hmm.
Okay,
It's better
well,
than the other way around when you think we can't see you and then you start to do things.
mhm.
All right, so the final 5. I mean, honestly,
Fake
it's kind
laugh.
of like a yeah, the fake laugh. The bottom 3 are Artful Escape, Ascent,
he's
Echo
there.
Generation. There he is.
there he is.
Artful Escape, the Ascent, Echo Generation, and then really it's effectively a tie with a very slight tiebreaker between 2 amazing ways to close out the year: Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5. I gotta be honest, Xbox, as far as console exclusives go, they didn't have an absolute home run year, but until you got to November, you had Forza Horizon 5, then you had the surprise multiplayer for Halo Infinite, and then you had the full campaign for Halo Infinite. Unreal way to
That's
close.
why I think PlayStation had still the better overall year as far as number of quality games, but I think the 2 Xbox exclusives that we're talking about and I'm arguing with you guys over kill anything that Sony released.
And
I agree with that.
ironically,
Yeah.
2 of
I agree with
two
that.
games that hit at Sony platform. One was exclusive to them, Deathloop, and the other one that was multi-platform, is Psychonauts 2.
Xbox
Microsoft
owns
is
that one, yeah.
like
Yeah,
they get all
yeah.
the money from that, so they're like, yeah, I'm glad you love those. Go ahead and buy those, please.
Keep buying them, yeah.
Please
yeah.
buy those. So they don't care if it makes our Game of the Year list as an exclusive. They don't care. They're getting the money. So there you go. Our top pick: Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, and an Artful Escape, Ascent, Echo Generation. Pretty solid year. I think Nintendo had the most. I think Sony had the most quality, and then I think Xbox had kind of like these two shining stars at the very end.
Yeah.
So there you go.
His hitters at the top. Yep.
There you go. All right, well, that does it for us for this week. So glad you guys could all be here. It's much more fun when we have 5 of us, especially for tiebreakers. Makes it much simpler. So I hate going to Metacritic for tiebreaker. So this is much better. But yeah, appreciate you guys taking time to record. Thank you all who are listening for listening. Please share the show. Smash that like button, like and subscribe.
For the love of God, just
This show's
friggin'
brought to
do
you
it.
by
Right, that
Manscaped.
place.
I mean,
Tim's
in a
not
very
gonna be here next week.
in a very literal sense. I mean, it takes a person 2 seconds to do it, right? Just freaking do it. Just do it.
Come on.
Just do it.
Yeah, next week we wrap up our Game of the Year discussions. We'll try to schedule in a time where we can all 5 be here again. I know it might be challenging for next weekend. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I would love to have the final overall Game of the Year debate include everybody. And that should be a fun one because we haven't really broken down all of them in one big category yet.
Right.
We've purposefully
nightmare.
split them up.
I'm
It's
sure
gonna-
that will go very civilly.
gonna be
very
great.
civil, and
Yeah,
it'll
we're
be
gonna have
good.
another Halo Infinite.
Oh yeah, we just wasted that whole discussion now. So next week we're not going to do that at all. We're just going to put
No.
Forza Red
Or
Hot.
I feel
are
like
we?
next week, if you catch me, I'll concede and be like, you know what, Halo actually is better than Forza. And it
So
deserves
that
to-
actually ends up
yeah,
winning
I'll-
Game of the Year.
I'll
Like,
totally flip flop it on it.
It's those damn emotional feelings.
yep.
It's all right. We're gonna have some dark horse like Lost Judgment will just win it all because we can't agree on
Okay.
all of them. So we like, all
I,
right,
I,
Kyle.
was my
Well,
plan all along.
It's actually
Halo would've
unpacking.
I
had-
Trojan horse that bad boy in.
You did.
If Halo would have had Dua Lipa playing in the background, maybe it would have won Game of the Year. So
Who?
or best Xbox game. I'm just saying.
Do a who? What?
Dua Lipa, levitating.
I
It's
don't-
one of the songs
Oh.
that's on repeat on one of the radio
I gotta
What are
say
you
real quick,
talking-
too,
Are you
before
saying
we-
English?
Before we close it up, the Forza Horizon soundtrack is pretty
Uncultured.
good, but there was a song that they had from Bring Me the Horizon that they had to edit so severely. It's
God.
not
I-
even, it doesn't even sound like the same
I hate
song.
it so much. I
So funny.
so unbearable.
I saw somebody in like Unlock complaining about that too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it was so
edited
bad.
down to. I mean, you've
Like,
heard
they
radio
literally
edits.
censor
before.
God. Like they censor like just
yeah.
every. Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next week for best overall game. Have an excellent week. See ya.